Family Cultivation. I can improve my magic weapon. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 751, Sea Boundary Wind. Once the Boundary Sea swallows up the Star Sea, the inner sea cultivation world can only become a bubble world, just like this Huangsha Island. The cultivators on the island dare not go out and set foot on the Boundary Sea at will. The cultivators outside the island also dare not move around in the sea at will, and can only hide in one place to reproduce and practice. During this year's observation, Chen Qingyun once witnessed a dangerous moment experienced by Huangsha Island. Because of the constant squeezing and overlapping of space fragments, a storm called Gangfeng often blows in the Boundary Sea. This wisp of Gangfeng is like a sharp blade that can easily tear apart the defensive shield light of the giant in cultivator and has terrifying destructive power. During this year, Huangsha Island was attacked by a Gangfeng. These Gangfengs are fierce and sharp, full of metal-like cutting edges. Even if the residual power of the edge of the storm blows across a corner of Huangsha Island, it will tear more than 30 miles of the Huang Mountains into gravel and dust. A large number of monsters, trees, rocks, etc., turned into powder in the residual power of the passing gale, sank into the sea and disappeared. The area of Huangsha Island was directly reduced by a few points after encountering this gale. This natural disaster was therefore recorded in the history of these families, warning future generations to stay away from the gale and never touch it easily. After this gale, the people on the island were panicked. They wanted to leave here and go to a place with fertile soil and suitable environment to live, but they dared not set foot outside the island. Once sailing on the sea, whether it encounters monster attacks, space debris, cracks, turbulence, or the sweep of gale, then you can only pray for good luck. Therefore, the monks on Huangsha Island have undoubtedly become frogs at the bottom of the well. They can only live in this small piece of heaven and earth all year round and pass it down from generation to generation. If you want to move out, how long will it take? Fortunately, Huangsha Island is huge, stretching 5 million miles from north to south, more than 4.5 million miles from east to west, and more than 1 million miles at its narrowest point. Even though 1/3 of the area is desert, fortunately there is this topaz mountain range that provides excellent resources. With sufficient resources and territory, and a small population, it is a good place to live. It seems that there is nothing wrong with being a frog in the well. These 3 major families and 6 tribes have frictions on weekdays, but they are not so fierce that they fight to the death. At most, they fight for resources. When foreign enemies land on the island or natural disasters strike, they can unite as one and help each other. From the perspective of the Boundary Sea, this is a paradise. From the perspective of the inner sea and even a higher world view, this is a puddle of water. As for this point, whether the monks on the island know what the outside world is like and whether they know the inner sea, Chen Qingyun has paid attention to it, and the answer is yes. It seems that the ancestors of these monks are most likely foreign monks who landed here when crossing the Boundary Sea and left their descendants here. Unfortunately, these descendants have not been able to go out so far and can only live in a corner. Isn't this a compromise? Compared with them, the monks in the 6 seas of Xinghai are also being engulfed by the Boundary Sea. The only difference is that the range of activities is much larger. When the entire inland sea turns into the Boundary Sea in the future, as long as there is no way to escape and reach the mainland, who will not become a frog in the well and be trapped in this corner? In the future, if you want to break the fate of being swallowed by the Boundary Sea, you can only leave the inland sea. And the safest way to cross the dangerous and unpredictable Boundary Sea is to use the teleportation array. As for whether there is still a teleportation array on this island, Chen Qingyun is not sure at present, and he has not explored it in depth in the Huang Mountains. If there is a second teleportation array here, it may be directly connected to the mainland, and you can take the teleportation array to cross the Boundary Sea and reach the mainland in an instant. After the observation, Chen Qingyun decided not to risk his life for the time being because of the unpredictable dangers deep in the mountains. and chose to return to the Star Sea. Since the teleportation is interoperable, after Chen Qingyun entered the teleportation array, Liu Zilin sensed it, started the return program, and teleported Chen Qingyun back. In the future, if the two of them want to teleport, they must carry the teleportation order with them, or leave a third person holding the teleportation order here to receive them. After returning to the Star Sea, seeing Chen Qingyun frowning and seeming to be worried, Liu Zilin asked with concern. Chen Qingyun told Liu Zilin everything he knew, and carefully informed Liu Zilin of the details of the detection on Huangsha Island, and mentioned the situation of the Boundary Sea annexing the Inner Sea. It was this point that made Chen Qingyun worried about the future of the family. This sense of crisis is like a huge meteorite from the sky slowly flying over, and one day in the future, it will eventually fall into the Star Sea, destroying all forces including the Chen family, and no one will be spared. Seeing Chen Qingyun like this, Liu Zilin wanted to comfort him. After thinking for a while, she spoke slowly. According to the historical records of Lingbao Mountain, the Boundary Sea has a history of more than 10,000 years since its birth. Now its sea area is more than half of the entire Inner Sea. If we look at this swallowing progress, it will take 10,000 years to get involved in our Xinghai area. This time point is still very far away from us. Liu Zilin estimated that in terms of time, there is really no need to worry too much. At present, the Xinghai is still surrounded by the Wanjiantu Sea. Every 100 years, it will be invaded by the Xinghai monster tide. This internal worry has not been completely resolved, and there is no need to pay so much attention to the external threat in Jai. It is really too busy. Moreover, even if you know this, given the current strength of the Xinghai immortal realm, you are still not able to cross the Boundary Sea. Even if they succeed by luck in the end, only a very small number of monks will be able to break through the Boundary Sea and set foot on the mainland. This success rate is really too low. Chen Qingyun also thought of this and said, as time goes by, if this problem is not solved, the future of our Xinghai will be in doubt at a glance. But, as you said, in terms of time, this is still very far away from us. 10,000 years is really too far away. How many monks can live to that era? Chen Qingyun nodded slowly and soon thought of another point. But, one thing cannot be ignored, that is, as the area of the Boundary Sea continues to expand in the future, the living territory in the inland sea will become less and less. I am afraid that many monks and monsters will gather in the center of the inland sea and come to us to grab the territory. There will be inevitable disputes. The concern raised by Chen Qingyun also made Liu Zilin frown slightly, feeling that it was indeed the case. Neither of them knew the speed of the expansion and annexation of the Boundary Sea, whether it would be accelerated or slowed down due to certain factors. It can only be roughly estimated based on the existing information, and there is no guarantee that the Boundary Sea will change in the future and show explosive expansion. Chapter 752 Exploration Plan. This involves space. Who can say clearly? Whether the expansion of the Boundary Sea can be contained or not depends solely on the power of the nascent soul stage monks. Chen Qingyun doesn't know whether the monks in the God transformation stage have the ability to stop it. They are not yet exposed to this level. They can only understand it when they advance to the God transformation stage in the future. Now is not the time to think too much. Just do whatever you can. Worrying about things beyond your capabilities is a typical form of asking for trouble. If you must be prepared, you must make plans for the future of the Chen family, which is to establish a teleportation array early to help the monks of the Chen family cross the Boundary Sea. Now, the first step is to find an opportunity to go to the mainland, establish the teleportation array, and lay a solid foundation. Later, the tribesmen were invited to move to the mainland, where they multiplied and settled. This process seems simple, but it is not easy to put it into practice. Finding spiritual veins on the mainland as a new tribe also requires a lot of effort. This can only be done step by step and step by step. I have roughly figured out the situation on Huangsha Island. Next time we go there, we can try to make contact with the monks on the island and explore the depths of the Topaz Mountains. Chen Qingyun said. This Huangsha Island stretches more than 5 million miles from north to south and 4.5 million miles from east to west. It covers an area that is no less than a small continent. We really can't finish exploring it in a short while. You need to spend more energy on this. Well, it's up to you. Liu Zilin nodded slightly, also showing great interest in this boundary sea island. When she learned that the Huang Mountains were rich in resources and spiritual essences were everywhere, she wanted to explore it. Although there are big monsters lurking in mountain ranges that are rich in resources, it is completely worth going deep into them for the resources and roads. The two discussed this carefully, and Chen Qingyun suggested teleporting. It consumes a lot of spiritual stones. We don't need to go there now. Let's make some preparations first and refine some magic weapons that can withstand the strong wind, and even teleportation talismans. It's better to be prepared this way. You can leave Huangsha Island and explore the boundary sea. Speaking of this, Chen Qingyun blinked, smiled slightly and said, "Do you have any reference for this kind of magic weapon in Lingbao Shan?" There are many magical instruments in the sacred artifact hall of Lingbao Mountain, which are often updated and added for disciples to understand and learn. It's been a long time since I visited the sacred artifact hall, and Chen Qingyun was a little nostalgic. He wanted to see if he could follow the instructions from Lingbao Mountain and refine a few magical weapons to prepare for the trip to the boundary sea. In the past 13 years since Huanhai and his party, I have not been to the sacred artifact hall. Liu Zilin also winked mischievously and responded with a faint smile, "If you are interested, why not come back with me and have a look?" "Okay, let's go again later." While the two were chatting, they temporarily closed the teleportation array to prevent any foreign monks from discovering the clues and taking the opportunity to teleport over. After the formation was sealed, the two of them left the Tan Puppet Cave. A year had passed this time, and when he set foot on Zhenhai Island again, Liu Zilin stayed here temporarily. Although she had just arrived on Zhenhai Island, where Chen Qingyun had lived for many years, she felt a little familiar because of the atmosphere of Chen Qingyun here. After Chen Qingyun arranged a residence for Liu Zilin, he went to the weapon refining workshop alone to check the situation here. The weapon refining workshop has been running stably for a year and has successfully produced many magic weapons. Since hematite production has been discontinued, based on the amount of hematite reserves stored by the Chen family, only 3,000 hematite swords can be refined. More than 500 hematite was left as a reserve for participating in the refining of other magic weapons, which put the refining of the hematite sword on hold for the time being. The turtle shell shield is okay. The materials are purchased from outside, there are stable purchase channels, and the profit is not bad. Regarding the demon locking ring, Chen Qingyun is thoughtful and has already considered the cost and procurement issues, making everything as simple as possible. Judging from the selling price, the price of one piece is 4,100 spirit stones, and the net profit can reach about 820 spirit stones, which is very impressive. Because it is aimed at foundation building monks, the market volume is not as large as that of first-order magic weapons, so the production quantity of the demon locking ring is not large. The Chen family also attaches great importance to this type of second-level magic weapon, and is very strict in terms of process quality inspection, making it a high-quality product. According to a production line built by Chen Qingyun, only 3 demon locking rings can be produced in a day. During this year, optimization was occasionally suspended to strive for excellence. Currently, a total of 300 demon locking rings have been produced. This quantity will not be sold out in Hia, Yishidao, and Yuan Zufang City for a while. The number of foundation building monks is far less than that of chi refining monks. There are also many choices in the second-level magic weapon market, and they are quite competitive. Chen Qingyun does not need to worry about how to sell this demon lock ring and where to sell it to the most marketable place. He can still enjoy the dividend profits brought by the weapon refining workshop and just wait and collect the money. After checking the progress of the weapon refining workshop, Chen Qingyun thought about the production of red iron swords. Without the supply of hematite, in the future, Refining hematite swords will require purchasing materials from outside. The family has relied on hematite to accumulate a reputation. If it no longer produces hematite swords, will this have any impact on the subsequent sales of magic weapons? Will it shake the family's magic weapon industry and cause dissatisfaction? Chen Qingyun was not clear about this because he was not involved. It would be fine if these families took action. Chen Qingyun and Chen Xianmin sent a message to let them know if the family had any ideas. Haha, the family's hematite war reserves are running low, so the refining of the hematite sword has been shelved. At present, the shops in Hia and Yishi Island still have some hematite swords in stock, which can meet the sales for 1 or 2 years. My idea is that we can refine a better flying sword based on the hematite sword to replace the hematite sword. It's just that this idea is only in my mind at the moment. You happened to mention it today, so I'll tell you about it. Chen Xianmin was very talkative and took the opportunity to discuss with Chen Qingyun. After listening to the specific ideas of the old patriarch, Chen Qingyun responded. The flying sword has a wide audience and a wide market. It is also one of the magic weapons with the highest value retention rate. I think it is a good idea to refine a flying sword. I think so too. I will hold a family meeting later to discuss it. I will need to refer to your suggestions at that time. Chen Xianmin quickly sent a message, saying that he would discuss this matter later and give Chen Qingyun a reply. The family is very concerned about the matter of the refining workshop. In this year, Chen Qingyun and Chen Qingyun have been arranged to follow up and supervise it. As for whether to continue to refine the red iron sword, Chen Qingyun once mentioned this idea to the family. Chapter 753 Nian Wei builds his foundation and returns to the Holy Artifact Hall. When the matter of the weapon refining workshop was discussed, Chen Xianmin took the initiative to mention the progress of the construction of the teleportation array and informed that he was already collecting production materials during this period. There are a total of 201 materials, 154 have been collected, and most of the remaining materials have been identified. The only things that are more difficult to purchase are the earth-suppressing stones and void crystals. Regarding the ground-suppressing stone, there is only a small amount of it in Xinghai, and it can be purchased from Xingzong. However, not only is the price expensive, it also easily reveals the purpose of purchasing ground-holding stones. Materials such as ground-suppressing stones are used to build the foundation of formations. No one in the Star Sea is so prodigal as to use it to build a house or use it to refine weapons. Who buys the ground rock and what it will be used for? The answer is not difficult to guess. For this reason, Chen Xianmin had a headache, and finally quietly contacted Chen Qingyun to see if there was any way he could get some from within Xinghai. When he learned that the family wanted to collect ground-suppressing stones, although the family did not clearly state what they would be used for, Chen Qingyun could not guess. He readily agreed and said he would do his best to handle the matter. As for whether it can be done, Chen Qingyun is not very sure. Fortunately, senior sister Bai Yining has this thing in her hands. We just have to see how to buy it from her. After all, Bai Yining is a disciple of Xingzong. Buying the earth-suppressing stone from her doesn't mean letting Xingzong know about it. Here it depends on the relationship between Chen Qingyun and Bai Yining, and whether they can keep this matter secret. After all, apart from that, with the Chen family's connections, I can't find out where the ground-holding stones are for sale. So I can only place my hopes on Bai Yining for the time being. As for the void crystal, Chen Xianmin knew that Chen Qingyun and the others had gone to Huanhai and participated in the Wanbao conference in the early years. Chen Qingyun did not hide this and told him that he still had some left in his hands. The family only needs to collect the materials to build the teleportation array first and wait for the teleportation array to be completed. There is no need to worry about the final step of refining the teleportation order. He and Liu Zilin will take action. With Chen Qingyun's guarantee, Chen Xianmin can worry a lot less. He doesn't need to go to Huanhai to buy void crystals everywhere. Speaking of which, Liu Zilin stayed at Zhenhai Island for a few days and was preparing to return to Lingbao Mountain. Chen Qingyun was just about to purchase some materials for subsequent exploration of the Boundary Sea. So he and Liu Zilin went to Lingbao Mountain. Arriving at Lingbao Mountain again and just about to go to the resource hall, Chen Qingyun saw Liu Zilin returning and immediately came to see her. "I met the master. I've met Uncle Six." She greeted Chen Qingyun equally respectfully. After not seeing each other for more than a year, Chen Qingyun has successfully established the foundation, and his cultivation has stabilized at the early stage of foundation building. His whole temperament has changed slightly, and he has become a bit more restrained and matured. In the past, her temperament was a bit softer, and she had a gentle and quiet temperament. She has lived in Lingbao Mountain for many years now. She has grown very quickly and is now able to stand on her own. She no longer needs to rely on her family. Now Chen Qingyun is used to wandering alone and can take care of herself. In terms of her attainments in making talismans, she has made some progress and is in the 3rd level bottleneck period. When I saw Liu Zilin come back this time, I wanted to ask him how to make a 3rd level talisman, and he wanted to challenge the 3rd level talisman maker. After meeting his little niece, Chen Qingyun asked with concern about her current situation in Lingbao Shan, and told him if she needed anything. Chen Qingyun is very sensible. He reports good news but not bad news. He is used to solving small problems by himself and does not want to trouble Chen Qingyun to come forward. Seeing his niece's thoughts, Chen Qingyun didn't say much and took out 2 magic weapons. This is the 2nd grade top grade demon locking ring, which can restrain enemies. This is the 2nd grade top grade water breaking sword, which is famous for its sharpness and speed. Uncle Six has nothing good to give you, since you succeeded in building the foundation this time. These 2 magic weapons should be regarded as congratulatory gifts. Chen Qingyun kept the demon locking ring he refined last time, waiting to be given as a gift after Chen Qingyun established the foundation. This time I came to Lingbao Mountain and learned that my niece had successfully built the foundation. Chen Qingyun secretly strengthened the demon locking ring to the highest level. The other water breaking sword was harvested over the years. Part of this 2nd level magic weapon was retained on my body. Chen Qingyun has only been building the foundation for less than half a year. He is accumulating good deeds and preparing to exchange them for 1 or 2 2nd level magic weapons. Unexpectedly, Uncle Six is now spending a lot of money, giving away 2 pieces at a time. Chen Qingyun was touched, but he was embarrassed to accept it. "Uncle, Liu prepared this for you. Could it be that you didn't like it?" Guessing that Chen Qingyun would be like this, Chen Qingyun smiled slightly and joked. No, it's nothing." Chen Qingyun looked anxious and quickly shook his head like a rattle and explained. "These 2 magic weapons are too valuable. Although they suit me very well, I can't always take advantage of Uncle Six in vain." As she spoke, she took out a dozen talismans from her storage bag. "I have 12 flame golden sword talismans and 6 turtle spirit shield armor talismans here. They are all 2nd level top quality. Then give them to Uncle Six." "You, girl, how come your family is so open to outsiders?" Chen Qingyun reached out and knocked Chen Qingyun on the head. "You are my niece and Zilin's eldest disciple. Why can't I give you some magic weapons to celebrate your successful foundation building?" When Chen Qingyun said this, Chen Qingyun slightly stuck out his tongue, then smiled and put away the magic talisman, then the demon locking ring and the water breaking sword. Like Chen Qingyun, Liu Zilin also took out 2 3rd grade high quality talismans as gifts and gave them to Chen Qingyun. This was to celebrate her success in building a foundation, give her a reward, and encourage her to continue to work hard in cultivation in the future. As for He Zitong, she also successfully built a foundation, and Liu Zilin treated her equally and gave her 2 3rd grade high-quality talismans as a reward. The difference is that He Zitong is not Chen Qingyun's niece, so Chen Qingyun did not give her anything. That afternoon, Chen Qingyun followed Liu Zilin to the Holy Artifact Hall. In order to assist in the next exploration of the Boundary Sea, this time, we need to look for 2 types of magic tools. One can be used to resist the storm. One can resist the power of space. Although the 2 threats of the strong wind and the power of space in the Boundary Sea are very powerful, It is estimated that few magic tools can truly resist them. But it is also possible to reduce such threats, as long as it can play a little auxiliary effect. In the future, with the talent of magic tools in hand, Chen Qingyun can also improve the power of magic tools. The Holy Artifact Hall was quite lively, with dozens of disciples watching and learning. Chen Qingyun took a quick look and found that the magic tools listed here had changed a lot, with more than a dozen new and replaced. He and Liu Zilin began to look carefully. At the same time, in the Lingbao Mountain Master Hall, Zhang Zifan came to meet Qin Zixuan and report Chen Qingyun's current whereabouts. Chapter 754, The Master of Hunyuan Palace. A Gold Order patrolling envoy came to Lingbao Mountain. No matter who came, he would attract the close attention of the Lingbao Mountain's top leaders. Especially since it was Chen Qingyun who came, Qin Zixuan would pay more attention to him. As long as there was a chance, he would try to win him over again to benefit the sect. Master, the latest news is that Chen Qingyun and Liu Zilin have now gone to the Holy Artifact Hall. It seems that they are preparing to refine a certain type of magic weapon. Zhang Zifan smiled bitterly and said, "The various magic weapons invented by our Lingbao Mountain are intended for the disciples to learn. After all, Chen Qingyun is not a member of our sect. He entered the Holy Artifact Hall so openly to observe, and it seems that he is taking advantage of us." Qin Zixuan heard this and did not agree with Zhang Zifan's point of view. He spoke lightly. "Zifan, your idea is wrong. Good magic tools can be passed down, which can also enhance the reputation of Lingbao Mountain. This is a good thing for us. Besides, since the magic tools listed in the Holy Artifact Hall can be taken out for observation, it does not involve the secrets of the sect's inheritance. Lingbao Mountain still has this kind of generosity. Let them go, don't bother them." Qin Zixuan gave the order and did not intend to stop Chen Qingyun. "In addition, you go to the resource hall again to inform the elders and pass on my order. If Chen Qingyun appears in the resource hall recently and wants to exchange something, then satisfy him." Zhang Zifan has always seen Qin Zixuan's emphasis on Chen Qingyun. Now after hearing such words, he also realized that this level of strong must be won over, and he must not be offended or have any gaps. As long as the other party acts reasonably in the sect, abides by the sect rules and does not cause trouble, then naturally he will not interfere and control, and let Chen Qingyun move freely. The next day, Liu Zilin accompanied Chen Qingyun to browse in the Holy Artifact Hall, and finally found two magic weapons. Both magic weapons are located on the third floor of the Holy Artifact Hall. One is a third-grade superior wind-repelling bell, and the other is a third-grade superb world-transforming bead. The wind-repelling bell has the effect of resisting various storms, which is more comprehensive than the wind-fixing bead. It can more or less resist some attacks of the strong wind, and it can be used in conjunction with the wind-fixing bead. The world-transforming bead is also remarkable, and can resist the space turbulence to a certain extent. The effect is somewhat similar to the space jade talisman you refined. The advantage is that the world-transforming bead can be used multiple times, and it is more secure to act together with the space jade talisman. Chen Qingyun said. Liu Zilin nodded. "With our refining skills, it is very simple to refine these two magic tools. As for the materials, I paid close attention to them. The sect can exchange them all, which is much more convenient." "Well, in that case, let's refine them earlier." The two left the Holy Artifact Hall and went to the Resource Hall instead. There are 13 kinds of materials for refining the wind-breaking bell and 22 kinds for the world-transforming pearl. Although there are many materials, the advantage is that this is Lingbao Mountain, where there are abundant materials below the 4th level. Since he is not a guest elder of Lingbao Mountain, he does not receive a salary, and he has not refined tools in Lingbao Mountain in recent years. Chen Qingyun's good deeds are almost exhausted. The last time he was in retreat in Liu Zilin to form a pill, he exchanged a large number of materials in Lingbao Mountain, and there were only 135 points of good deeds in the Hunyuan order. This time, the good deeds were insufficient, so Chen Qingyun chose to exchange them with spirit stones. The elder of the resource hall, who had received Qin Zixuan's order and was responsible for receiving Chen Qingyun, was very friendly. He realized that Qin Zixuan valued Chen Qingyun and warmly entertained Chen Qingyun. After learning about the exchange requirements, the elder exchanged all the materials to Chen Qingyun according to the requirements without saying a word, and did not ask what these materials were used to refine. Because there was no need to worry about exposing the whereabouts when going to the Boundary Sea. The cultivators of the 5 major sects had explored it before, and it was not a secret, so there was no need to cover it up when exchanging materials. After getting the materials, the two returned to the cave and began to refine magic tools. The two had a clear division of labor. Chen Qingyun refined the wind-breaking bell, and Liu Zilin refined the world-transforming pearl. It took 3 months to refine 3 of each of the 2 magic tools, leaving a set for backup. During the two people's refining, this action was also followed by Qin Zixuan. Based on the list of exchange materials given by the resource hall, she guessed that the two were refining the wind-breaking bell and the world-transforming pearl, and thought that the two were going to go to the Fantasy Sea again to do something. After all, the effects of these 2 magic weapons are very simple, and it is easy for people to associate them with the wonderful fantasy, which is also a natural disaster that often occurs in the Fantasy Sea. The Boundary Sea is too far away, and Qin Zixuan did not think much about it. Even the ancestors of Lingbao Mountain were helpless in the Boundary Sea. If Chen Qingyun and the others were to get involved, they would still lack the skills to cross it. After completing the refining of the magic weapon, the two discussed and prepared to go to Huangsha Island again, and set off for Zhenhai Island on the same day. Outside Zhenhai Island, about a kilometer away, 2 figures stood in the air, blending into the surrounding environment under the cover of high-level invisibility talismans, and were watching Chen Qingyun on the island. These 2 people, one is the Fairy Qinyu of the Fantasy Moon Palace, and the other is the Fairy Qinyu's master, the current palace master of the Fantasy Moon Palace. Ever since she met Chen Qingyun at the Wanbao conference 7 years ago, Fairy Qinyu has never forgotten her. Together with her senior sister Yu Lingshu, she began to track the whereabouts of Chen Qingyun and the other 2, and finally located them on Zhenhai Island. The nascent soul cultivator is very capable, and Fairy Qinyu has even investigated Chen Qingyun's origins and experiences over the years, and has a very thorough understanding. She also made a secret trip to Linxi County to visit Chen Qingyun's parents and sister. Fairy Qinyu already knows the current situation of the Zhang family on Linjian Island, how many monks there are, how many properties there are, who is closer to Chen Qingyun, etc. These situations are all well known to Fairy Qinyu. This time, when her master came out of seclusion, she immediately reported the incident, alarming the master of Hunyuan Palace. It was related to the master's reincarnation and whereabouts. When the master of Hunyuan Palace was excited, he immediately called Fairy Qinyu to lead the way, and then he arrived at Zhenhai Island. Although the appearance is not exactly similar, the behavior is quite similar to the master. The most rare thing is that this little girl's voice is exactly the same as the master. Palace. Master Huanyuan observed here for a period of time, following Chen Qingyun closely with his spiritual consciousness. At the same time, according to the eyesight of a monk in the transformation stage, his eyes kept falling on Chen Qingyun. Yes, master, my senior sister and I discovered this exactly at the time, so we followed up on her whereabouts and finally located this island. Master, you had not yet come out of seclusion at that time. You were at the critical moment of breaking through seclusion. Disciple did not dare to disturb you, so you have waited until now. Fairy Qinyu said respectfully, and in front of Palace Master Huanyuan, she restrained her aura as a Yuanying monk and appeared somewhat approachable. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelist. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 755, Grandmaster Bapu, The Origin of Zhenhai Island. Well, I don't blame you, It's your credit that you made this discovery this time. The Hunyuan Palace master looked calm. When she saw Chen Qingyun start to meditate and practice, she noticed that the technique Chen Qingyun practiced belonged to the water spirit root technique, and she became more confident. It's really such a coincidence that they both have water spirit roots? The Hunyuan Palace master muttered to himself, and then continued to observe for a while. After his consciousness carefully explored the entire Zhenhai Island inside and out, a strange color appeared on his face, and he couldn't help but exclaimed in surprise. Interesting. The fact that the master showed this expression attracted the attention of Fairy Qingyun, and she asked immediately, "Master, do you have any new discoveries?" When the Hunyuan Palace master heard this, his face showed a look of realization, which turned into a faint smile, as if he had seen something interesting. She looked at Zhenhai Island in the distance, and said with a smile, "You say it's a coincidence or not, this small spiritual island is actually a villa opened by your master in the past. Is this the cave of the master?" Qingyun, Fairy was surprised when she heard it, and immediately explored Zhenhai Island a few more times, showing an expression of discovery. "So, that's how it is. No wonder there is a spiritual light tree on this small island. Such a spiritual tree is rare in the fantasy sea, and only our fantasy moon palace has 3 of them." "Yes." The lord of the Hunyuan Palace nodded. "In order to avoid the hunting and killing of Zhuxiantu and the old monsters, your master once built a villa in this inner star sea to temporarily settle down. Later, for some reasons, he temporarily abandoned this villa. After that, your master was reincarnated and turned to the second life." The lord of the Hunyuan Palace did not mention much about reincarnation, but simply described it. As for the grudge between him and Zhuxiantu, it was hard to explain it for a while, and the lord of Hunyuan Palace did not want to say more. He did not want Fairy Qingyun and Yu Lingshu, his beloved disciples, to be involved in the battle of the cultivators in the spiritualization stage too early because of this matter. Fairy Qingyun observed the words and did not ask any more questions. She speculated along the words, since the master once lived here for a period of time, it is very likely that she was reincarnated in this inner star sea based on the time before her last calamity. Now, the Chen family has discovered this Zhenhai Island by chance, and the master happened to live on this island, which can be regarded as God's will. Yes. The master and his disciples of Hunyuan Palace observed here for half a day, and finally, in order to verify his guess, the lord of Hunyuan Palace took out a silver ring magic weapon. This silver soul ring is quite spiritual. It has accompanied your master for hundreds of years and has long remembered your master's breath. Although this item is temporarily kept by my master, I have not let it recognize its master yet. After all, it is only willing to pursue your master wholeheartedly. At present, it is natural to use it to verify it. Once it can recognize the little girl and shows no signs of rejection, the result will be clear. Under the close attention of Fairy Qingyun, the lord of Hunyuan Palace waved lightly, and the silver soul ring in his hand was wrapped in magic power. All the breath and light were restrained, and it fell silently into Zhenhai Island and flew into the residence where Chen Qingyun was. The next thing to do is to wait. It didn't take too long. 2 days later, Chen Qingyun came out of retreat temporarily and soon found this silver soul ring. Huh? She made sure that she didn't leave any magic tools behind, and took the silver soul ring and looked at it carefully for a while. I saw that this magic tool was like breathing, emitting a silver white light and flashing a few times. If you don't look closely, you won't know. Once you look closely, Chen Qingyun is so surprised that she almost screams. Spiritual treasure. Although she has never touched a spiritual treasure, she has seen pigs run and eaten pork. As a weapon refiner, how can Chen Qingyun not distinguish spiritual treasures? This is a treasure worth tens of millions of spiritual stones. Picking up a spiritual treasure in your own residence, is this a pie in the sky? Where did it come from? For a moment, Chen Qingyun thought of Chen Qingyun and others. Maybe they left it. No, it's definitely not. Chen King Luan thought about it for a while and shook her head again and again. If it was left by my brother, there is no need to put it here casually, he will definitely tell me. As for Sister Qingyun, Sister Qingyun and the others, it is the same. It is impossible that they didn't tell me in advance. If that's not the case, then how did this spiritual treasure come from? Realizing that this matter was not simple, Chen Qingyun didn't dare to touch it casually. She looked around and found nothing unusual, so she put the silver spirit ring back to its original position and didn't touch it much. There must be something wrong when things are out of the ordinary. Let's wait until my brother comes back. I'd better not move. On this side, Chen Qingyun did not accept the silver spirit ring. On the other side, the two people of Hunyuan Palace secretly observed with their spiritual sense and saw Chen Qingyun's every move. Especially when the silver spirit ring was picked up, the light on the ring was strange, which made the Hunyuan Palace master's eyes fixed and a smile appeared on his face again. This result, even if the Hunyuan Palace master did not say anything, Fairy Qingyun could guess the result. It's really the reincarnation of the master. Fairy Qingyun looked at the Hunyuan Palace master with joy. Master, since we have found the trace of our master, should we go to this island to meet her and recognize her? Fairy Qingyun was eager to recognize her master. But the Lord of Hunyuan Palace shook his head directly. No, you just saw the expression on your master's face after seeing the silver spirit ring. It is obvious that she did not recognize it. That is enough to show that she has not yet recovered her memories of her past life. If we go to recognize her now, whether she believes it or not is one thing. More importantly, if we recognize her early and sort out the relationship, it may attract the covetousness of Zhuxiantu and cause trouble for your master. Hearing the concerns of her master, Fairy Qingyun could only suppress the throbbing in her heart, and felt that she should not set foot on Zhenhai Island at this time. According to Chen Qingyun's current strength, the Purple Mansion stage, even if the entire Lingjian Island Chen family is included, let alone facing Zhuxiantu, a strong man in the God transformation stage. Even if she met her disciples, they would be powerless to resist. Under the threat of a powerful enemy waiting for an opportunity, it would be unwise to recognize each other too early. Since we can't recognize each other, we can only observe each other secretly. In the next few days, I will arrange Lingshu to come here and let her settle down nearby to protect your master secretly. Okay. Chen Qingyun didn't know that she had been secretly observed by a Yuanying cultivator and a Shenhua period cultivator for 2 days. These days, she secretly glanced at the silver spirit ring while waiting for Chen Qingyun's return. On the 4th day, the two masters of Hunyuan Palace adhered to the principle of not disturbing each other, recorded a copy of the sea chart here, and set off to return to Huanhai. Chapter 756, Secret Protection. Chen Qingyun asked Chen Qingyun about the silver spirit ring. When it was taken out, Chen Qingyun looked at it for a while, and shook her head in surprise, saying that she didn't know what was going on. She reminded Chen Qingyun to keep it well and not to show it to outsiders easily. 3 days later, Chen Qingyun and Liu Zilin returned to Lingjian Island. The two sat down and rested for a while, and Chen Qingyun mentioned the silver spirit ring and talked about her worries. Chen Qingyun was also surprised to learn that his sister had picked up a spiritual treasure. Let's not talk about how valuable this spiritual treasure is. Let's say this is Zhenhai Island, and several large formations on the island are open all year round, which can automatically detect magic tools for resistance. In this case, how could a magic tool fall from the sky and pass through the formation barrier and land on the island? If this is true, outsiders can control the magic tool to attack directly. Obviously, this is man-made, not a simple character. As for who this is, it will not be investigated for a while. Who in the family would be generous enough to send a spiritual treasure to Zhenhai Island? As luck would have it, it still fell into Chen Qingyun's residence. Don't alert the enemy first, just accept this circular spiritual treasure for the time being. The person behind this can come up with such a hand, it is estimated that we can't deal with it, so we can only let it go and don't worry too much. Chen Qingyun thought about it and suggested. As for whether Chen Qingyun is the reincarnation of a great power, Chen Qingyun, Liu Zilin, and Chen Qingyun didn't think about it at all. Because since the opening of the Star Sea, they have never heard of the birth of a spiritual cultivator. Even if there is, it has not been revealed on the surface, but since it is a reincarnation, it is entirely possible to choose to go to the mainland for transformation. Who would come to this small Star Sea? With the heavenly means of a spiritual cultivator, he naturally has the ability to cross the boundary sea and will not be trapped in this puddle. The silver spirit ring was temporarily stored in Chen Qingyun's storage bag, which made Chen Qingyun observe it from time to see if there was anything strange. According to her current strength, she could not drive the silver spirit ring for the time being. But she could feel that this thing would show a kind of intimacy to her from time to time, constantly flashing silver-white light, as if to tell something. This made Chen Qingyun confused, and she could only continue to observe, temporarily calling this silver spirit ring a silver ring. Out of concern for the safety of his sister, Chen Qingyun temporarily put aside the idea of going to Huangsha Island, and Liu Zilin also stayed on the island temporarily. Together with Chen Qingyun, the three secretly paid attention to the situation around Xinhai Island to see if there was any trick. Chen Qingyun still told Chen Xianming about the fact that Chen Qingyun picked up a spiritual treasure, and first ruled out the possibility that it was given by the family. As expected, Chen Xianming shook his head after learning about it, saying that he had never done such a thing. This is a spiritual treasure. One piece is worth 40 million spiritual stones. I have never seen the true appearance of this top-notch magic weapon. You can't buy it in our Star Sea even if you spend money. If you ask me, who can afford such a thing must be really rich. Chen Xianming was particularly impressed. In the Star Sea where the highest combat power is only in the nascent soul stage, it is good to have a few spiritual treasures. You can imagine how arrogant it is to take out one and throw it on Xinhai Island. The sun rises and sets, and more than a month has passed in a blink of an eye. Everything on the island is normal, and no suspicious people are found outside the island. Chen Qingyun continues to keep an eye on it secretly. One day, a figure accurately found Xinhai Island according to the instructions of the sea chart. This person sneaked on the sea with superb stealth and concealment skills, easily avoided Chen Qingyun's detection, and stood in the air 10 miles away from Xinhai Island. The young master is on that island. That's great, it's confirmed. The visitor is a woman in a white robe. She has a beautiful and quiet appearance, delicate facial features, a slender waist, and a graceful figure. This person can become the focus of the world just by standing here. She is Yu Lingshu, the Yuanying cultivator of Hunyuan Palace and the senior sister of Hunyuan Fairy. According to the instructions of her master, the lord of Hunyuan Palace, she crossed the Huanhai Sea and the Wanyao Sea and came to the vicinity of Xinhai Island. She prepared to secretly protect Chen Qingyun and take good care of the growth of this young master. That day, she took out a white blessed land bead and sank it to the bottom of the sea, landing in a colorful coral, and thus placed the cave here. In order to cover it up, she also set up a Yuanying restriction around the blessed land bead to isolate the exploration of living beings. Yu Lingshu's blessed land bead is of the same type as Chen Qingyun's blessed land bead, both of which are cave heaven blessed land type magic tools. The difference between the two is that Yu Lingshu's bead was inherited from Huanyuan Palace and was refined by a supreme elder of Zhuxiantu sect commissioned by her master. It took a total of 100 years to collect space fragments from the boundary sea and refine 2 of them with supreme means, both of which are at the level of blessed land. One is in her master's hands, and the other is here with her. After Yu Lingshu's careful care, a 4th-level spiritual vein has been born in this blessed land bead. The area of the world in the bead has reached the size of 3 Xinhai Islands, in which spiritual fields have been opened up and many high-level spiritual medicines have been planted. Although according to the 4th-level spiritual vein in the bead, it can only meet the cultivation of giant and cultivators at most, and cannot supply Yu Lingshu's cultivation. But for Chen Qingyun, Yu Lingshu brought dozens of high-quality spiritual stones this time, ready-to-use spiritual stones to provide the spiritual energy needed for cultivation. Chen Qingyun and his companions were completely unaware of the arrival of Yu Lingshu, a nascent soul cultivator. After observing on Zhenhai Island for 2 months, seeing no results, Chen Qingyun guessed that this might not be a bad thing for Chen Qingyun. Maybe they were just generous and gave away the spiritual treasure so casually? Regarding the silver spiritual ring, Chen Qingyun checked it several times in a row and was sure that there was no means of harming people in it, which was a relief. There was nothing to worry about. If there was a spiritual treasure delivered to the door, then keep it and you can use it in the future. Chen Qingyun and Chen Qingyun reminded them not to show this silver ring spiritual treasure in front of other people, so as not to be coveted by others. At noon that day, Chen Xianmin came to Zhenhai Island and took a few glances at the silver ring. After finding nothing, he could only give some warnings and didn't say anything more. Another purpose of the old patriarch's visit this time was to discuss the matter of the weapon refining workshop. After the family meeting, it was finally decided to optimize the red iron sword and create a better flying sword magic weapon. As a result of this discussion, 3 plans were drawn up, 3 flying swords, respectively, the first-level medium-quality Hunyuan sword, Qingguang sword, and the first-level top-quality Bishan sword. The effects of these flying swords are all known for their sharp attack and speed, and they are easy to use. Don't worry about the purchase of materials. The family has a stable purchasing channel, and can even purchase in large quantities, further enjoy some discounts and lower the price. This is about the engraving of the soul puppet. You are the founder of the refining workshop, so naturally you have the final say. Choose from these 3 flying swords and see which one is most suitable for production. Chapter 757 Return to Huangsha Island. Chen Qingyun carefully selected them. In fact, according to the ability of the soul puppet, these 3 flying swords can be refined, and there is no problem. After a while, Chen Qingyun made a choice. The red iron sword is for cultivators who have just entered the path of cultivation. Such cultivators have limited funds to purchase magic tools, and most of them do not have the ability to buy first-level upper-grade and top-grade magic tools in one go. Since it is to optimize the red iron sword, it is naturally impossible to sell magic tools of the same level. I think this green mang sword is just right. It is a first-level middle grade, so it is it. Haha, good, your choice is exactly what I want, and I am also interested in the green mang sword. After the flying sword category was finalized, Chen Qingyun went to the weapon refining workshop and started to let the soul puppet learn the inscription formation link. The 3 steps of smelting, fusion, and shaping are not much different from the red iron sword, and a slight adjustment is enough. As for materials, Chen Qingyun does not need to worry about it. The family will take care of it. It only took half a day for Chen Qingyun to complete the task. First, a Qingguang sword was produced from the production line, and then the soul puppet took over the inscription array, and soon the first Qingguang sword was refined. Seeing that the Qingguang sword inscription array was successful, Chen Xianmin offered sacrifices and refined it, and played with it, and nodded with satisfaction. Well, it's good. It's up to you to do this well. The effect of this flying sword has reached the expected effect. The task of putting new magic tools on the shelves of the weapon refining workshop has been completed. In the next few days, the family began to transport a large amount of resources and began to invest in the production of the Qingguang sword. In terms of manpower, Chen Qingyun was responsible for handling this matter. The family no longer had to worry about it. On the second day, Chen Qingyun called Liu Zilin and prepared to go to Huangsha Island again. Before leaving, considering that the practice of the true explanation of the sun could reach the 3rd level, he could then refine his life-saving magic weapon, the Flame Emperor Bell. Chen Qingyun was going to practice and break through on Huangsha Island, and start refining at the same time. To refine the Flame Emperor Bell, in addition to the most critical sun essence fire, 39 kinds of materials are needed. Let's collect them all this time. There was no rush for time, so Chen Qingyun flew to Xingzong alone and exchanged for 36 of the materials. The remaining 3, the 3rd level fire shining gold copper, Mysterious Water Sand and Fantasy Sound Stone, were purchased on Yishi Island. It took half a month before and after, and finally returned to Zhenhai Island. Dankuai Cave Mansion. Chen Qingyun in Liuzilin activated the formation and activated the teleportation order. With sufficient spiritual power injected, the teleportation formation operated with mysterious power. Huala, accompanied by the brilliant light of the formation, in just a moment, the figures of the two disappeared in the formation. At the same time, the entire teleportation formation shook a few times. This burst of power was quickly absorbed by the earth-suppressing stone, reducing most of it, with only a very small part leaking out. This caused the Seabed mountain range where the Tankuai Cave Mansion was located to tremble slightly, alarming the nearby fish and Yu Lingshu, who was practicing in seclusion. Feeling the movement of the Seabed mountain range, Yu Lingshu's expression moved, and he opened his spiritual sense to scan carefully, and found the source of this movement at a glance. This is the fluctuation generated by the teleportation formation. The little master and his friends still have the teleportation formation in their hands. After paying attention for a while, when the vibration quickly disappeared, Yu Lingshu suddenly realized. No wonder they bought the void crystal at the Wanbao conference at that time. I think it was used to refine the teleportation order. The little master and his friends have a lot of good things in their hands. Without the teleportation order in hand, it is not easy to touch the teleportation array at will. Yu Lingshu has no intention of getting involved in the Tangai Cave Mansion. He can only stay here quietly and pay attention to Chen Qingyun's actions. Speaking of this, after leaving the teleportation array, Liuzilin followed Chen Qingyun to the Huang Mountains and was attracted by the scene in front of her. At that time, listening to Chen Qingyun's description, I just felt that Huangsha Island was very big. Now I am on the scene, I just feel that the grass and trees are fresh, the mountains are majestic, and the sky and earth are vast. This is the first impression brought by Huangsha Island, which is quite like a sense of déjà vu on the vast land. Since the mission this time is mainly to explore the Huang Mountains, the two decided to find out first and not step into it blindly. Liuzilin has not mastered the language here yet, so Chen Qingyun went to the nearest Zhuxian family to copy some books. This Zhuxian family is located in the east of the Huang Mountains, only 200 miles away from the teleportation array cave mansion. It is called Liuping Shanshui family. Because there are few cultivators on the island, there are few, and there is no array master inheritance. The Shui family could only take the resources left by their ancestors and choose a set of first-grade superior arrays as the family protection array, which was simply arranged in the family land to protect several important areas. This level of family protection array can only block cultivators below the 9th level of Qi refining. Chen Qingyun put on the purple spirit robe directly and entered the Shui family's library with great ease and copied some books. In this way, after returning to the cave, Liuzilin flipped through these books and began to learn the language here. Chen Qingyun temporarily closed his eyes to practice, and was not in a hurry to explore the Huang Mountains now. In a blink of an eye, spring and autumn passed, and half a year had passed. Liuzilin had excellent qualifications and had already mastered the language and writing here. Later, she began to pay attention to Chen Qingyun's practice progress. After practicing for half a year, Chen Qingyun immersed himself in the true explanation of the sun and practiced this technique to the 3rd level in one fell swoop, and the condensed solar fire in his body became stronger. At this time, he could start to refine the Flame Emperor Bell. The Flame Emperor Bell is a killing treasure. It can cover the enemy, use the sun essence fire to refine it, or emit powerful sound waves to kill. When refining the Flame Emperor Bell, the sun essence fire is used as the raw material. If the heaven and earth spirit fire is added, the power can be further improved. The specific grade is determined by the cultivator's cultivation. In terms of materials, because he had prepared in advance, Chen Qingyun simply refined it on the spot. In less than a month, he refined the Flame Emperor Bell. Flame Emperor Bell, 4th grade top grade. A golden bell was suspended in front of him, full of metallic texture and heaviness. Chen Qingyun could clearly feel the grade of this magic weapon. It is a 4th grade top grade. As soon as it is refined, which can definitely be a great help in battle. When refining, Chen Qingyun also added the purple-green divine flame, which made the power of the sun essence fire go a step further. When controlling it, you can use one of the flames individually, or use them at the same time to achieve a power stacking effect. With a thought, the flame emperor bell continued to shrink, and finally became the size of a sesame seed, and flew into the Danshan for nourishment. After completing the refining of his life magic weapon, Chen Qingyun left the side room and came to the main hall to find Liu Zilin. After noticing the progress of Chen Qingyun's refining, Liu Zilin had been waiting here quietly for a long time. When she saw Chen Qingyun coming out, she took the initiative to mention the current situation. Chapter 758 Topaz Mine. Compared to Chen Qingyun, Liu Zilin is much more careful. After she mastered the language here, she did not disguise herself and infiltrate the families or tribes on the island to inquire about the situation. Instead, they continued to rely on the advantage of their spiritual consciousness to conduct fixed-point exploration around them and record where there were monsters and what the situation was like in which family and tribe. Once, while trying to explore a place a little further away in the Topaz Mountains, she also discovered traces of a golden elixir python. In order not to alert the enemy and lure him over, Liu Zilin quickly withdrew her consciousness and hid her traces. After that, for a month, she never released her consciousness in the direction of the golden elixir python. Except for the situation deep in the Huang Mountains, Liu Zilin already knew this Huangsha Island very well. She took out a hand-drawn map and told Chen Qingyun. Zhuxiantu's words were neatly written on the map, recording the locations of the three major families, named Shui family, Wu family, and Lin family in order. The 8 major tribes were all concentrated in the southern part of the Huang Mountains and settled on both sides of a river called Baipu River. It is worth mentioning that Liu Zilin also found out the origin of the name of the Huang mountain range. It was named because more than 500 years ago, the Shui family monks who first arrived at this spiritual island discovered a large number of topaz mines in this unknown mountain range. The Shui family originally occupied a small spiritual island in the boundary sea to reproduce and inherit, and cultivated third-level spiritual veins and 6 Zaifu monks. Unfortunately, due to bad luck, the tribe was hit by a violent wind, the entire island was almost destroyed and the spiritual veins were damaged. In order to survive, the Shui family had no choice but to abandon their clan territory, quickly organized a fleet, and set off on a long voyage with the remaining population of more than 3,000 people, wandering in the boundless sea in search of a new home. Finally, after wandering on the sea for 5 or 6 years, going through many twists and turns, and losing 60 to 70% of the population, they finally found this Huangsha Island, and thus discovered the topaz mine. This topaz ore is a first-level material. It is bright yellow like jade and feels warm to the touch. Because the material is hard, it has a good storage and circulation effect on mana. It can be used as an excellent magical weapon material. Liu Zilin introduced it in detail. The magic weapon made from topaz ore is not only strong and durable, but also has a much smaller effect on magic power, which is better than other magic weapons of the same level. The Shui family relied on this topaz mine to refine a large number of magical weapons, which enhanced the strength of the clan and laid the foundation for their fortune. As for the follow-up, monks from other families fled here and started to compete with the Shui family. The historical events here are very different. The parties have been fighting for a long time, and gradually found that internal friction was serious. The number of births is not as large as the number of casualties. It's not okay to continue fighting like this. Sooner or later everyone will be finished. Therefore, all parties had no choice but to turn their hostility into friendship, and divide the resources together to protect this spiritual island, and no longer let other monks compete for the territory. Over time, people here have developed a sense of unity, cooperation, and unity toward the outside world. Many of those tribal monks were mortals who had moved away from their families. In order to be self-reliant, they chose to make a living by farming and hunting. Because there are too few monks and no ability to sell resources overseas, a lot of topaz and even all kinds of elixirs have been accumulated here, and the prices are much cheaper than outside. The topaz mine is still being mined to this day, and the magic tools produced are basically 2 or 3 pieces per person. The monks here are not short of low-level magic tools. This is where the advantage lies. But the shortcomings are also very obvious. Although this island is huge and rich in resources, due to its geographical location, it is located in the Boundary Sea and is often attacked by space debris or strong winds. Chen Qingyun had witnessed the strong wind destroying a corner of the island before. This time, more than 2 months ago, Liu Zilin had witnessed a piece of space debris approaching Huangsha Island. Under that powerful space-devouring force, the desert on the island became like food, being sucked into the space cracks in large quantities. The originally thick layer of desert was swallowed up by about half due to this natural disaster. The area of the entire desert has also been reduced by 20%. This disaster was also observed by the monks on the island. They started to use self-protection methods and were ready to run away at any time. According to their strength, there is no way to fight against the space cracks. Only by escaping can they have a chance of survival. Fortunately, this disaster did not last long, and the area attacked was not infertile farmland. Otherwise, once the fields are damaged and food production is greatly reduced, the mortals on the island will have no choice but to venture into the mountains to hunt or go out to sea to fish in order to support their families. Natural disasters often occur, destroying land and buildings, which also prevents the island's population from growing too fast and maintaining stability. Sometimes a disaster strikes and lasts for a long time, which can easily destroy thousands of people. After learning about the settlement history recorded by the 3 major families, the 2 learned that Huangsha Island was at its peak more than 140 years ago. At that time, the island's population had multiplied to more than 300,000. With 6 Zaifu monks and more than 30 foundation establishment monks. In terms of family power, there were originally 4 families. Just over 140 years ago, Huangsha Island suffered the largest gale attack in history. This disaster lasted for 3 days and 3 nights, pushing the Wang family, the largest cultivating family, to destruction. A large number of buildings and people were destroyed in the storm. It is precisely because of this that the power structure on the island has changed, and the population has dropped rapidly, showing a trend of decline. Otherwise, with the resource advantages of the island, it would not have developed such a small population after so many years. It is in this living environment that the population of Huangsha Island has stabilized in recent decades, and there have been no large-scale natural disasters. As for going out to sea to find another place to live, although there are many islands in the Boundary Sea, they are far apart from each other. The spiritual islands with spiritual veins are also occupied by monks. To avoid long-term exposure to the sea, they are more willing to shrink on the island to practice. Once going out to sea, facing the natural disasters of the Boundary Sea is one aspect. It can be said that there is no chance of survival. On the other hand, it is not necessarily lucky to find a better place to live than Huangsha Island. A population of tens of thousands is not suitable for long-term sea voyages, and the consumption is too great. With the current financial and material resources of the 3 major families, they simply cannot support long-distance voyages. So, we can only stay on Huangsha Island peacefully, and everyone will share the difficulties and resist the natural disasters together. Considering the continuation of the inheritance for their descendants, the monks on the island have already built large spirit ships, the more the better. Doing so is also convenient for preserving the fire and leaving Huangsha Island in times of crisis, so as not to completely cut off the fire on this spirit island. After understanding the situation on the island, the 2 discussed for a few words. Chen Qingyun released Biling, took Liu Zilin on the spirit beast, and began to go deep into the Huang Mountains. Chapter 759, Xuanyan Lion, Awakening Spiritual Tree. Compared to the grudges between the monks on the island, the situation in this mountain range interested the 2 more. Because there were many monsters in the mountains and Biling was used as a cover, this did not attract the attention of the monks on the island. At most, if they saw a purple mansion spirit beast like Biling, they would choose to hide immediately because of their low strength, but they dared not observe it closely. There are few monsters outside the Huang Mountains, and the traces of wild beasts are even equivalent to none. These beasts have been hunted for a long time and have long understood the way to survive, and migrated to the depths of the mountains as much as possible. After traveling for hundreds of miles, the two gradually saw the figures of some first-level monsters, including a few second-level ones. In front of Bai Ling, these monsters were too weak to dare to compete with Bai Ling, so they could only avoid her early. When they entered the depths of the mountains, Bai Ling relied on her perception to first sense the breath of several powerful monsters. Their strength was quite satisfactory, and they looked like they were in the middle and late stages of the Purple Mansion. When they saw Bai Ling flapping its wings and flying over, they looked up one by one, revealing a fierce look of guarding their territory and preparing to fight. Monsters have a strong sense of their own territory, and the stronger they are, the more so. Monsters that have reached the nascent soul stage can also transform into human form and mingle among the crowd, making it difficult to distinguish between the real and the fake. The two just glanced at these Purple Mansion monsters, without the intention of offending them, and chose to go deeper. 3 days later, in the depths of the Huai Mountains, the traces of monsters here began to decrease on a large scale, and almost no large monsters were seen. There were only some poisonous insects, snakes and rats, and spiritual medicines and spiritual essences grew wildly everywhere. For such a situation to occur, it is obvious that something is intimidating the surrounding monsters, making them dare not set foot here. This is the restricted area in the Huai Mountains. This is indeed the case. Feeling the quiet atmosphere around him, Chen Qingyun found a dormant figure by the small lake not far away. Looking carefully, it was a giant stage monster. The giant stage demon beast belongs to the Xuanyan lion clan, and has the 4th level top-grade bloodline. It looks like a lion with 4 wings, and has a thick rock-like leather armor, with amazing defense. They are known for their fierceness and ferocity, and have a flexible body shape. They are the top existence among the giant and demon beasts. At night, Xuanyan lion has the habit of hunting human babies. The title of night demon beast is circulated among the people, which makes people shudder. It can be said that demon beasts like Xuanyan lion are born to be hostile to humans because they like to eat human cubs. The descendants of the cultivators on this island have been poisoned by this Xuanyan lion, but their strength is limited and they can't work together to eradicate it. The two were not afraid, and directly launched their spiritual consciousness to explore here carefully. Liu Zilin was the first to find out the strength of the Xuanyan lion, which reached the peak of the giant and had the possibility of advancing to the Yuanying. After Chen Qingyun scanned the Xuanyan lion, he focused on the surrounding grass and spiritual plants. He found that besides some 2nd and 3rd level spiritual medicines, there was also a particularly eye-catching green spiritual tree. When he noticed that the spiritual tree did not bear fruit, but bloomed with colorful flowers like butterflies, the shape was quite peculiar. Chen Qingyun's eyes suddenly lit up. There are many spiritual trees in the world, and there are countless ones that only bloom but do not bear fruit. But the flowers that bloom can be colorful, like the shape of butterflies, which is very unique. A name emerged in Chen Qingyun's mind: Qingguang, divine tree. At this moment, not only Chen Qingyun, Liu Zilin also recognized the Qingguang divine tree, and was immediately attracted to it, looking at Chen Qingyun with great joy. Qingyun, the family is blessed. Chen Qingyun nodded heavily, and couldn't help but smile. This Qingguang divine tree is a 3rd-level spiritual tree of heaven and earth, which only blooms all year round and does not bear fruit. The spiritual charm contained in its flowers can not only assist the cultivators in their practice, but also increase the chances of the birth of spiritual roots and immortal seedlings among mortals. It can be said that as long as this spiritual awakening tree is brought back, the chances of the Chen family giving birth to immortal seedlings in the future will definitely be greatly increased, which will benefit the family to a great extent. This is an unexpected surprise. When the two of them visited here, the Xuanyan lion was sensitive and also discovered that there were intruders. It climbed up, stared at Chen Qingyun and the others, raised its head, and let out a roar that shook the world, trying to drive them away. The deafening roar of the beast turned into a series of powerful sound waves, which hit all directions fiercely, shaking the branches and leaves of the big tree. The birds on the tree were startled and fluttered their wings in panic, and flew away one by one, making frightened cries. A golden bell fell from the sky, turning into a size of 3 or 4 feet, and covered the Xuanyan lion head. Chen Qingyun was very decisive. He chose to attack directly, and used the Flame Emperor Bell to attack. The Xuanyan lion had a strong sense of territory. This did not deter the intruder, but was regarded as prey, and it was instantly furious. It flapped its wings and flew up, relying on its agile body to dodge, and unexpectedly avoided the attack of the Flame Emperor Bell without any danger. It had long been expected that this Xuanyan lion was agile and could not be captured with one blow. Yuzilin saw the opportunity and directly played 3 ice talismans, unfolding the power above the opponent. This is a 3rd level top-grade ice talisman, which can freeze the enemy and can directly kill those below the golden core stage. 3 talismans unfolded, sprinkling a large area of extreme cold power, like a blizzard, causing the grass and trees within 100 meters to freeze into ice instantly, and the temperature dropped sharply. The Xuanyan lion was in the area wrapped by these 3 talismans. Although its own strength had reached the giant stage, it would not be wiped out on the spot. However, it was attacked by this extreme cold power and had no time to dodge. Its body was frozen in place and temporarily turned into an ice sculpture. This temporary freezing restraint could not pose a fatal threat to it at all. At most, it was frozen for 1 or 2 seconds. It can also rely on its strong defense to resist attacks such as flying swords and magic. Its ability to resist blows is very strong. It is only 1 or 2 seconds, which is enough to become the key to victory. The golden light rose sharply, and the Yanhuang bell came across again, like a mountain falling from the sky. There was only a clang. Just as the black rock lion broke free from the icy shackles and shook off the ice before it could fight back, the Flame Emperor Bell tightly enveloped it, shaking the ground and sinking 2 fingers deep. Now it was trapped in a jar, and the black rock lion immediately relied on its rock armor to madly hit the bell wall, trying to break through the cage. However, the Flame Emperor Bell was so heavy and hard at this time that it only made a buzzing sound when hit by the black rock lion. It fell to the ground and did not move at all, as stable as Mount Tai. Chapter 760 Spiritual Candle. Divine Milk. Chen Qingyun looked cold, standing on Bailing's back, looking down at the Yanhuang bell below. Through the spiritual connection of the spiritual treasure, Chen Qingyun saw the movements of the Xuanyan lion, which was constantly hitting the Yanhuang bell barrier, trying to break free. This kind of monster with strong defense has thick skin and flesh, and it seems difficult to kill, but as long as you find the right method and have restraint means, you can gain the upper hand. Whether the Yanhuang bell uses sonic attacks or smelting with the sun's fire, it can kill this Xuanyan lion. The magic weapon accumulates power, and the golden elixir mana bursts out layer by layer, mobilizing all of this killing treasure. The Yanhuang bell suddenly rang happily, and a clanging sound was heard. The sound was loud and shocking, and it resounded through the sky. The tangible bell sound vibrated in the bell wall, and the extremely violent impact hit the Xuanyan lion, shaking the soul of this monster quickly. Liu Zilin followed closely behind. In order to prevent any unexpected changes, she used a 4th-level inferior Qian Kun long talisman to fly out of her palm and float above the Yanhuang bell. She communicated with this spiritual talisman, ready to activate its power at any time to seal off this world tightly. Clang, the deep bell sound that resounded through the sky rang again. This sound wave attack was like a raging sea, layer upon layer, further killing the remaining soul of Xuanyan lion. The light in Xuanyan lion's eyes disappeared, and his body froze, stopping the collision. Clang clang clang, 3 more bell sounds rang in succession, and the deep sound waves filled every area of Yanhuang bell, launching a continuous attack. Such sound waves can kill the peak of Jiandan, not to mention that after several consecutive attacks, how can this Xuanyan lion resist it? At the same time, in the Huang Mountains, several Shui family monks who were collecting resources in the mountains were attracted by the roar of beasts and the sound of bells. They looked in the direction of the sound, each with a puzzled look. The other 2 families, the Wu family and the Lin family, also sent monks deep into the mountains at this time. They were also attracted and looked intently, trying to see something. The 8 tribes also had monks who observed this. However, they thought that the monks of the 3 major families were so bold that they dared to go deep into the Huang Mountains to anger the giant and demon king. Is he crazy, or is he going to die? Chen Qingyun didn't care about the attention of the outside world. He would always contact the monks on this island. It was just right to make a name for himself through this battle. Appropriate display of strength is a manifestation of establishing prestige. After putting away the Yan Huang seed, the body of the Xuanyun lion was revealed, still intact. The claws, bones, fur, etc. on its body can be used to refine tools and talismans, so they naturally cannot be wasted. This is also the reason why the sun's fire was not used for burning. The body needs to be preserved and has recycling value. Liu Zilin took back the Qiankun trap dragon talisman and followed Chen Qingyun to deal with the body of the Xuanyun lion, quickly stripping off the demon pill, fur, etc. After cleaning up the battlefield, the two explored the surrounding area and found the Xuanyun lion's nest in a cliff not far away. The corpses of monsters and humans were all over the ground, full of a foul and pungent smell, mixed with the smell of blood that had not yet dissipated. There was also a brown bear corpse on the ground that was not completely eaten, with only half of its body left, indicating that the Xuanyun lion had just hunted not long ago. The depth of this cave is nearly 40 meters, and the light gets darker as you go deeper. In the depths of the cave, more than 30 meters into the excavation, the surrounding air began to be mixed with a hint of sweetness, and there was no more rotten smell. Something's wrong. What's this smell? This attracted Chen Qingyun's attention. After going in and exploring, layers of crystallized, milky white rocks were found on the rock wall at the end of the cave. There were about 50 or 60 of these rocks, each about 1 meter long, some large and some small, all hanging down at an inclined angle. Looking closely, at the tip of these rocks, a snow-white, jade-like, solidified substance was condensing, which looked like a candle. The sweet smell that was smelled earlier was emitted by these solidified substances. Liu Zilin was experienced. While Chen Qingyun was still watching, she took a few steps forward and took a closer look. She was the first to recognize the origin of these things. It's the spirit candle god milk. This thing can cultivate spirit beasts and help spirit beasts advance. I didn't expect that we would have this harvest. The 2 of them started to collect, packed all the spirit candle god milk and took them away, and finally carefully explored the cave to make sure nothing was missed. This exploration yielded 2 kinds of natural treasures in succession, which made Chen Qingyun more aware that this was a treasure land. After picking some spiritual herbs nearby, the 2 began to continue along the mountain range all the way north for in-depth exploration. On the other side, in the affairs hall of Liu Ushui's family, many monks have gathered at this moment, and they are discussing something enthusiastically. The monks of the Wu family and the Lin family also gathered here and mentioned the anomalies that appeared in the Huang Mountains today. Wu Dihai, the head of the Wu family, said, "Since both of you have clearly stated that you have not sent monks to the depths of the mountains recently, my Wu family has not done so either. If we check the response given by the 6 major tribes, they also have not set foot there, then the result is obvious. There must be foreign monks on our island recently." This conclusion has been guessed by most people present, and after Wu Dihai said this, they all nodded secretly to express their agreement. Of course, there are also a few who disagree. Among them, a foundation-building elder of the Lin family questioned, "Foreign cultivators have not landed on the island for nearly 100 years. Who has the ability to travel freely in the Boundary Sea and successfully land on our Huangsha Island?" The people present all have a thorough understanding of each family and know the strength of each family. Everyone knows one thing about the past events described by the elders of the Lin family, that is, without 2 brushes, it is really impossible to find Huangsha Island in the Boundary Sea. Unless you are extremely lucky and have not encountered monsters or natural disasters such as strong winds, It is not so easy. Let's talk about the experience of the Lin family migrating to Huangsha Island. More than 8,500 descendants of the Lin family sailed in the Boundary Sea, and the last survivors were only more than 900 people. If it weren't for a purple mansion and 6 foundation-building cultivators who survived, I'm afraid they would not have a chance to live on Huangsha Island, and it would have been annexed long ago. Lin Yuanming, just because your Lin family can't do something doesn't mean other cultivators can't do it. There are always people better than you in this world. Don't use your knowledge to measure a thing. Wu Dihai directly retorted, making the atmosphere tense. Seeing this, the cultivators from other forces did not try to persuade or smooth things over, but just looked like they were watching a show. Chapter 761 Shui Hunyuan of the Shui family. The 3 major families seem to be in harmony, and large-scale battles will not break out. However, there are often frictions and battles over resources, territory, and dominance. Even if the senior executives of various companies discuss matters here, if they feel uncomfortable with it, they will speak out directly, but they will not be used to it. Lin Yuanming was retorted, and several other monks from the Lin family began to blow their beards and glare, not giving Wu Dihai a good look. The Wu family's Zaifu monk is not Wu Dihai. Everyone is in the foundation building stage, so there is no distinction between high and low, strong and weak. There was a bit of disharmony between the Lin family and the Wu family, and they started to quarrel with each other, arguing about Chen Zizi and rotten millet, and scratching their respective scars. The meeting went off topic, causing representatives from the other 6 major tribes to watch the excitement without interrupting. Finally, after about half a stick of incense time, the head of the Shui family, Shui Hunyuan, who was in the early stage of the Zi family, finally couldn't tolerate it anymore and knocked on the table with his hand. Boom boom. This loud knocking sound resounded in the hall, immediately causing the whole place to fall into silence. Everyone's eyes moved one after another, all falling on Shui Hunyuan, and they did not dare to provoke the head of the Shui family. Okay, let me say a few words. Shui Hunyuan showed a serious look and glanced at Wu Dihai. Lin Yuanming, a monk from the Wu and Lin families, said in a non-hurried tone. Everyone, after all, this Huangsha Island is where we have lived for hundreds of years. No matter how big the island is, we can still get a general understanding of the situation on the island by exploring it bit by bit over time. We haven't discovered yet that in the past few decades, there have been other strange monks living in seclusion here on the island. This monk who can fight that Blackstone Lion must at least be at the Golden Core stage. Now that you have all come forward to veto it, and it's not one of you who takes action, then who else can fight against that Black Rock Lion? Is it possible that the loud bell that shook the heaven and earth was emitted by the magical weapon of the demon beast? Did the nascent soul demon emperor be born deep in that mountain range? Shui Hunyuan's words instantly caused everyone to fall into silence, thinking about the possibility. There are golden elixir monsters living in the Topaz Mountains, which were discovered more than 400 years ago, and there are more than one. Now that times have changed, it is not surprising that 1 or 2 more golden elixir monsters are born there. But when they thought of the nascent soul demon emperor, everyone secretly took a breath. Because the nascent soul demon king has the ability to transform into a human being, he can use magical weapons to cooperate and combat. Once such a big demon transforms into a human being and blends into them, who can detect it? Who can clearly remember each of the more than 30,000 mortals on the island? If this is really the nascent soul demon king fighting against the Black Rock Lion, the consequences would be disastrous. It would be in existence even more terrifying than the Black Rock Lion. No way. Absolutely impossible. Wu Dihai was the first to shake his head and said nervously. Even though there are many resources in the depths of the mountain range, and there is no shortage of supreme treasures that are naturally raised, it is still difficult to breed rare treasures that can cultivate the nascent soul demon king. This is absolutely impossible. Lin Yuanming seized the opportunity and wanted to use it to scare Wu Dihai, so he quickly snorted and said, "There are no absolutes." "Why is it impossible?" You also said that this rare treasure was raised by nature. Maybe it actually gave birth to some great treasure, allowing a certain demon king to advance to the nascent soul stage. As soon as these words came out, the representative monks of the tribes also changed their expressions and couldn't help but look at each other. If this is true, then we can no longer stay on Huangsha Island and run away as soon as possible. No matter how powerful the golden elixir monster is, it cannot transform into a human form, and it still appears in the world in its true form. Wherever these golden elixir monsters appear, as long as you pay attention, you can be prepared in advance. Generally, they will not leave the depths of the mountains at will and do evil here. But the nascent soul stage monsters are different. Not only are they unable to observe, and it is difficult to distinguish between true and false, they also have no power to resist and can only be reduced to lambs to be slaughtered. Thinking of this, some people immediately showed a look of fear. They felt frightened and looked around, fearing that someone around them might seem normal, but in fact, they might be impersonating the nascent soul monster. Realizing that the atmosphere was not right, if it continued like this, everyone might be so frightened that they would risk moving out of Huangsha Island. Considering the overall situation as the top priority, Shui Nuian glanced at Lin Yuanming with a slightly unhappy look. Elder Lin, you crow's mouth, don't try to create panic and disturb people's hearts here. If there really is a nascent soul monster breeding, I will have to catch you with my own hands and feed you to that guy. After all, it was a monk from the Z mansion. These words immediately intimidated Lin Yuanming, making the elder of the Lin family speechless. He lowered his head and did not dare to speak nonsense. When Wu Dihai saw this, he felt happy and laughed unabashedly. Chief Shui, you are the most sensible person. In my opinion, as you said, there are foreign monks on Huangsha Island. This guess made several of the tribal representative monks nod their heads. They would rather believe this guess and hope that this is the case. At least compared to the ruthless and violent monsters, the strong human beings are somewhat merciful and have room for negotiation. Regarding whether the person fighting the Blackstone Lion was a monster or a monk, Shui Nuian didn't mean to waste any words and just told everyone to stop talking. Okay, everyone, please be quiet. Instead of making random guesses here, let's go and investigate. Let's do this. From today on, you Lin and Wu families, as well as fellow Taoists from the 6 major tribes, you might as well pass on the order and pay attention to whether there are any new faces recently. Once you find something and cannot determine the other party's origin, you must report to each other as soon as possible, so that you can pay attention to it. The specific reporting method is to use the Huangming mirror. The senior leaders of all parties should carry this thing with them. Don't be careless and miss it. Do you understand? The Huangming mirror is made by adding topaz stone. It has the function of real-time communication and displaying pictures within a radius of 1,000 miles. This communication area may seem small, but the distance between the 3 major families and the 6 major tribes is less than 500 miles. All of which are established in the eastern part of the Topaz Mountains. The reason why the distance between the parties is so close is also to enable them to quickly gather and join forces to resist foreign enemies in case of emergencies. Otherwise, the distance is too far, and if you want support, the daily will be cold. This meeting finally adopted Shui Nuian's proposal. After everyone went back home, they began to give orders and sent people to keep a close eye on any new faces that had appeared recently. Once they found something, they needed to report it in time and not hide it. While alerting the monks on the island, Chen Qingyun and the other person had already left the Xuanyun Line's territory and continued to fly over the mountains on their biling. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelist. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 762 Purple-Eyed Fire Python, Jade Liquid Flower. Since he had discovered the Kylin Divine Tree, Chen Qingyun had such a good thing in hand. Although he did not know how to transplant it, Fortunately Liu Zilin knew a thing or two. Judging from the age of this Qingguang divine tree, it is already close to maturity, and it will be fully grown in 6 years at most. With Liu Zilin, she can use the Qingmu spiritual liquid in the Qingmu Qingguang to nourish and cultivate this Qingguang divine tree, greatly shortening the maturity time by about half. With the assistance of Liu Zilin, this Qingguang divine tree was temporarily transplanted to the Fudi Pearl, and some Qingmu spiritual liquid had been placed at the root position as nutrition. For the living environment, the Qingguang divine tree is not too picky, as long as it is not planted in an extremely dry environment. When we return to Xinghai, we can bring it back to the family for planting. When the time comes, where will the Qingguang divine tree be planted? The first thing Chen Qingyun thought of was Lingsai County, and he wanted to benefit the folks there. I hope that the chances of my relatives giving birth to spiritual roots in the future can be greatly increased, and more descendants can embark on the road of cultivating immortals. With this awakening divine tree, our trip is worthwhile. If the head of the Chen clan knew about this harvest, I think he would be very happy. Liu Zilin blinked and said, she was happy that Chen Qingyun could obtain this awakening divine tree. This kind of spiritual wood of heaven and earth is not available in the Star Sea. For the cultivating immortal family, it is definitely a treasure of the clan level. In the future, we can find a way to cultivate a few more and plant them in various parts of the family. If it weren't for you this time, I really don't know how to bring the spiritual wood back. If I want to complete the transplantation at that time, I guess I have to bring the family alchemist here. It seems that learning this spiritual plant is also very important. I have to learn it in the future. Chen Qingyun smiled slightly. Any spiritual wood, especially high-grade spiritual wood, is not just dug out and planted casually. They are like pampered ancestors. As long as they are not satisfied with the environment and their roots are damaged, their future growth will be affected immediately. Even the more delicate species will wither and die on the spot and become dead wood. This is one of the reasons why spiritual wood is precious. It is not easy to transplant casually. I only know a little about this spiritual plant. If you want to learn, I can teach you these days. Liu Zilin smiled brightly and told Chen Qingyun everything she knew without hiding any secrets. Chen Qingyun was not polite about this and nodded in agreement. After completing the temporary transplantation of the Qingguang divine tree and chatting for a few words, the two couldn't help but smile and told Mo Ling and Bei Ling not to mess with this sacred tree, which is precious. As for the spirit candle divine milk, after collecting it, the kettle-sized jade bottle was filled with a total of 16.5 bottles. This amount can already be used to cultivate 4th-level monsters. As a 4th-level spiritual essence, the spirit candle divine milk has the effect of increasing the strength of monsters. At most, the monster can be cultivated to the 4th order extreme level, and there is a 10% to 20% chance of optimizing the bloodline and going to the next level. He took out 10 bottles and gave them to Mo Ling and Bei Ling, each with 5 bottles for cultivation. When the two pets saw the Ling Zhuxiantu, they immediately started to eat happily. This amount was quickly consumed. After Mo Ling and Bei Ling finished eating, there was no immediate effect, and they had to wait for a while. There was no rush for this moment. After the blessed land beads, the remaining 6.5 bottles were fed to Bai Ling by Chen Qingyun. The next exploration would be hard for Bai Ling. After the Ling Zhuxiantu entered her mouth, she felt the love from her master, and she made a happy cry and happily turned a few circles in the air. It spread a pair of wide wings and soared over the mountains, moving at a constant speed, allowing the two to ride steadily and comfortably. The exploration continued, and the road ahead was unknown. Chen Qingyun released 4 Luan birds and 1 flamingo to assist in the surrounding area, explore the environment, and be alert to danger. This trip is still based on safety. No one knows whether there are Yuan monsters in this mountain range. Baoang also prepared early and can launch attacks at any time to deal with the attacks of Yuan monsters. There is no time in the mountains. While the two were flying on the Bailing, they continued to explore the passing areas with their spiritual sense. Until this road traveled more than 600 miles, the figures of 1st-level and 2nd-level monsters could often be seen along the way. When approaching a huge canyon, Liu Zilin gave a reminder that the golden elixir giant python found before was located in the lake in the distant canyon. In order not to alert the enemy, Chen Qingyun flew a luan bird to the canyon and paid attention to the situation there. For this second golden elixir monster, whether to kill it depends on the situation after observation. It also depends on the environment here and whether there are any natural treasures worth taking action. Chen Qingyun recognized the origin of the golden elixir giant python. It was from the purple-eyed fire python clan. It could release flames to hunt enemies. It was a fire-attributed monster beast, and its bloodline could reach the third-level middle grade. Compared with the black rock lion, this purple-eyed fire python did not have the habit of actively hunting the human clan. It was more inclined to devour some large monster beasts. It hibernated at the bottom of the lake all year round and rarely showed up. When entering this territory, the purple-eyed fire python was not disturbed. The two did not disturb it too much and continued to move forward. There were no natural treasures in this canyon. There were only a few first-level spiritual medicines, and Chen Qingyun had no intention of picking them. The most abundant thing in the Huang Mountains is the first-level spiritual medicine. Occasionally, if you are lucky, you can also encounter a first-level spiritual vein. In the distance of more than 600 miles, there are already 3 spiritual veins discovered, the highest of which is at the first-grade upper level, and the lowest is at the first-grade lower level. In the Huang Mountains, there are huge trees, vines, dense vegetation, and the spiritual energy is very pure. Often, such a place with abundant spiritual energy is the treasure land where the spiritual essence of heaven and earth is born. Under the exploration of the divine consciousness, the two people's harvests are getting richer and richer along the way. So far, the number of spiritual medicines collected has added up to more than 30 kinds, mostly first grade, and a small amount of second grade. No third grade ones have been found for the time being. After traveling more than 30,000 miles, a third-grade upper-grade cayenne flower was found. This thing breeds sweet and refreshing nectar. After the monks take it, it has the effect of increasing their cultivation by 30 years. There are a total of 3 plants. Chen Qingyun picked them and continued his journey. As we continued to go north along the Yellow Jade Mountains, the towering trees became more dense, and the view was green and pleasing to the eye, making people feel happier. When passing over a dense forest, Bai Ling flew low, and the strong wind blew up, driving large branches and leaves, like a strong wind blowing, making waves of pine waves. In the dense forest that was originally quite calm, a series of vibrations soon sounded, mixed with the roar of unknown beasts. Rumble. 2 towering trees suddenly collapsed, as if they were pushed down by some force. This scene attracted the attention of Chen Qingyun and the others. Chapter 763 Diamond Dragon Elephant. Looking down, through the gaps between the branches and leaves of the dense forest, I saw several large monsters with pale golden bodies and a pair of curved long fangs appearing on the ground. 2 of the 3 monsters were waving their long trunks and entangled with the 2 fallen trees. It seemed that the trees were pulled out of the ground by them. With such great power, Chen Qingyun couldn't help but take a closer look. I saw that the 3 monsters were huge, reaching 3 or 4 meters in size, with dense and fine long hair, and looked like elephants. The most notable feature was that they had a pair of long snow-white tusks and a long trunk that was flexible and powerful, almost 2 meters long. Seeing the characteristics of this monster, a name emerged in Chen Qingyun's mind. Qingguang Dragon Elephant. This is a second-level monster with a trace of wild dragon blood, with thick skin and flesh, and infinite strength. Just looking at them moving, the dull rumbling sound when stepping on the ground is enough to see how big the monster is. What's more amazing is that the tusks of the Vajra dragon elephant have extremely strong penetrating power and can easily pierce into stones. Seeing the Vajra dragon elephant recorded in the book for the first time, Chen Qingyun did not get angry and disturb it, but temporarily stopped to watch. Vajra dragon elephants like to live in groups and have a strong sense of revenge. Once an enemy offends one of them, the members of the tribe will roar and call on the same tribesmen within 100 miles to rush over together, unite to pierce the enemy into a sieve, or directly trample it into meat paste. Therefore, the monks are reluctant to provoke the Vajra dragon elephants when they see them, so as not to be besieged by their tribe. However, it is also fortunate that the Vajra dragon elephants are peaceful in nature and are herbivores, and will not actively attack the human race. They can also be domesticated and raised as beasts of burden. This makes some families and sects like to raise Vajra dragon elephants to guard the house and use them as beasts of burden. The 3 Vajra dragon elephants appeared here, and seeing their actions of uprooting the big tree, it was obvious that they were looking for food. They would also take leaves to regulate their stomachs. Chen Qingyun had no intention of leaving for a while. Looking at the 3 Vajra dragon elephants, his spiritual sense began to carefully explore the surroundings. The appearance of Vajra dragon elephants here also means that there are also spiritual herbs and medicines nearby. The male members of their tribe are born with the talent to find and identify spiritual objects. When courting, they will give the collected spiritual herbs and medicines as gifts to the female elephants to show their goodwill. Liu Zilin guessed Chen Qingyun's thoughts and also used her spiritual sense to search the surroundings. The 2 really found something. In a river valley plain more than 10 miles away from here, dozens of Vajra dragon elephants appeared. Among them, several males were digging holes on the ground diligently, and put the picked Ganoderma lucidum, spiritual fruits, etc. into the earth pits for collection, waiting for this year's courtship. In the earth pit, the 2 of them scanned with their spiritual sense and found several rare 3rd-level Ganoderma lucidum, and even a few Hunyuan fruits. Hunyuan fruit belongs to the 4th-level spiritual fruit. It is ineffective against humans, but it can promote the large-scale egg-laying of monsters, especially for spiritual insects. Seeing this kind of spiritual fruit, Chen Qingyun first thought of the 6-winged miasma cloud bee. He had long wanted to cultivate 100,000 or even 1,000,000 spiritual bees. Seeing this, Chen Qingyun was a little eager to make a move. In addition, the other spiritual medicines in the earth pit are also remarkable, including 3rd-level middle-grade fire pattern Ganoderma lucidum that can heal injuries. Liu Zilin was also a little tempted. This means that the King Kong dragon elephant has collected a lot of spiritual medicines, and now it only needs to be collected. Just as he was hesitating whether to take action, the next moment, Chen Qingyun found the traces of nearly 100 King Kong dragon elephant cubs on the river valley plain. This is a bit unusual. There are only more than 80 adult King Kong dragon elephants, and the number of cubs is even greater. This reproductive capacity can be said to be very strong. It is thought that the female elephants took the Hunyuan fruit, which stimulated the recent reproduction speed. Originally, it took 3 to 5 years to produce a cub, but now it is probably 2 or 3 a year. Both of them were interested in taking action. After discussing, they decided to take some spiritual medicines in the earth pit and capture a few cubs of the King Kong dragon elephants and bring them back to the Chen family for breeding. Such spiritual beasts do not exist in the Star Sea. They are all spiritual beast races recorded in ancient times. Among the 84 King Kong dragon elephants, the strongest leader has reached the peak of foundation building, and the rest of the adults are in the middle stage of foundation building. Chen Qingyun directly controlled 4 Luan birds, took out the fairy palace, and released 50 foundation building puppets to take action. Using 4 Luan birds to drive and control the field, and then cooperating with these 50 peak foundation building puppets, it is enough to fight against this group of King Kong dragon elephants. Liu Zilin also took action, casting a 2nd-level top-grade Ice Dragon Talisman, which activated an effect similar to the Ice Dragon Ring. An ice crystal dragon flew out of the talisman and flew towards the elephants, and the power of ice was activated instantly. In an instant, the entire elephant herd was covered by the ice wind and snow spit out by the ice dragon, and heavy snow fell on the air, and the cold wind was biting. At this moment, the Vajra dragon elephants in this ice field were all affected by the power of the talisman, and their strength was weakened by 20%. The 2 of them joined forces and took action. These Vajra dragon elephants were no match at all. The 3 foundation building puppets held storage bags and performed earth escape techniques, accurately taking away the Hunyuan fruit, fire pattern Ganoderma and other spiritual essences from the pit. The remaining half or so were not taken away, leaving some for the big guys. There were also 3 foundation building puppets, holding spirit beast bags, and began to capture baby elephants, One by one. The whole herd of elephants was immediately in chaos after being attacked by Chen Qingyun and the others. The Vajra dragon elephants moved their limbs in a panic, trampling the river valley plain with a rumble, alarming the surrounding small animals to flee. The leader of the herd seemed much calmer. Seeing these puppets and phoenixes gathering around, he immediately gave an order, calling on the tribe to gather together to fight the enemy. However, facing the phoenixes in the air, they could not reach them at all. To deal with the puppets, they could only let the puppets move underground, and their own combat effectiveness was weakened by the Ice Dragon Talisman, so they could only use their strength without anywhere to use it. In the end, the leader of the herd of elephants was enraged and could only vent his anger by running rampant on the ground, trampling one pit after another on the ground. The earth puppets hid underground, and they were completely helpless, constantly waving their trunks to protest against the phoenix in the sky. After venting for a while, when they found that 20 baby elephants were missing from the herd, they were already very tired, panting heavily, and growling at each other. In just a moment, they reached a consensus, and could only be depressed and no longer resist in vain, and simply gathered together to protect the remaining baby elephants. Chapter 764 Dark River Bai Ling had been taken into the blessed land beat early, and the two stood in the air, not only disguising themselves. At the same time, they also used the mixing to restrain their breath, so as to avoid being remembered by the elephants and holding a grudge. Under the cover of the mixing, the unique breath of the cultivator was restrained, enough to hide from the golden elixir creatures. Not to mention avoiding these second-level diamond dragon elephants. After collecting some spiritual medicines and fruits and capturing 20 baby elephants, Chen Qingyun held the fairy palace in his hand and stopped, and began to summon the puppets back. One puppet after another turned into a stream of light, and under the control of magic power, it turned into a mini-size and flew back to the fairy palace. The elephants only saw the puppets flying into the air and soon disappeared, without any trace. Seeing this scene, they could only dance their long trunks and lift their front hooves to step heavily on the ground. For a moment, dozens of diamond dragon elephants stepped out with a rumbling sound as a deterrent, hoping to end the battle as soon as possible. As the puppet returned to the fairy palace, Chen Qingyun and the other two quickly fought and left. After a while, the elephants realized that the danger had been lifted, and began to disperse and resume their previous lives. Losing 20 baby elephants and some spiritual medicines was not a big problem for them. Recently, their reproductive ability was good, and they just needed to give birth to more cubs. The spiritual medicines around here were not something they could pick whenever they wanted. There were still many. Even if they faced a third-level monster, they could rely on their advantages in numbers and size to fight well. However, when they met Chen Qingyun and the other two, their advantages could not be brought into play at all, and they were firmly restrained. This battle was a victory, and Chen Qingyun and the other two went away together and quickly flew away from this river valley plain. Over a dense forest, Chen Qingyun counted the spiritual medicine harvest while temporarily placing the baby elephant in the spiritual beast bag, and then put it into the collection of blessed land beads. After a while, when they returned to the Star Sea, they would place these cubs. This battle was a victory, and the two continued to explore the Yellow Jade mountain range. The further they went, the more they felt that this mountain range was not simple. Chen Qingyun landed on the ground to investigate, and his spiritual consciousness went more than 100 meters underground, and found that there was a huge underground river under the yellow sand island. There were many spiritual fish in the dark river, and many rare aquatic spiritual beasts lived there, such as cold crystal flying fish, ice condensation beast, etc. This is not the point. The point is that the spiritual energy in the dark river is very pure. In terms of grade, it has reached an astonishing 4th grade middle grade, which can supply the practice of Jinan monks. This is still in the dark river. The water flow dispersed the spiritual energy, making it thinner, but even so, there is still such a rich spiritual energy. Is there a high-level water spiritual vein at the source of this dark river? Liu Zilin couldn't help but guess. After learning the situation, the water spiritual vein is one of the 5 elements of spiritual veins. It is relatively rare. It does not appear in the common solid form, Like a mountain. It is a liquid spiritual vein, similar to a lake, which can be static or flowing. The magical thing about this water spiritual vein is that it is liquid when it exists at room temperature, but as long as the temperature reaches above 90 degrees, it will condense into a solid. This is the opposite of the characteristics of candles that melt when heated and condense into wax when cooled. Hearing the word water spiritual vein, Chen Qingyun's expression moved. If this guess is correct, then this kind of water spiritual vein can be taken away in part, or even all of it. Whether it is liquid or solid, it can be well loaded and carried, so there is no need to worry about this. Thinking of this, Chen Qingyun guessed, we have discovered the 4th level green yuan fruit along the way, but we have not found any spiritual veins above the 3rd level, mostly a small number of 1st and 2nd level spiritual veins. This is not right. To produce the 4th level green yuan fruit, at least the spiritual energy of the 3rd level spiritual vein is needed to nourish it. At this point, Liu Zilin and Chen Qingyun came up with the same idea and couldn't help but draw a conclusion. Well, so there is really a water spiritual vein under the Huang Mountains. The water spiritual energy is flowing through this underground dark river, and finally part of the spiritual energy and river water flow into the soil, further nourishing this land, which gave birth to many spiritual essences of heaven and earth. Not bad. With this guess, whether it is right or not, we will know it after a careful investigation. Chen Qingyun suggested exploring this underground dark river first. The value of the water spiritual vein is far greater than the resources on the ground. Liu Zilin also has this idea. After putting away Bai Ling, Chen Qingyun used his flying sword to dig out an entrance on the ground, connecting to the underground river area, and took Liu Zilin into the underground. After diving more than 100 meters, when they stepped into the dark river area, the surrounding light dimmed, and only a little faint light shone from some holes on the ground. With the help of these faint lights, Chen Qingyun saw a river flowing slowly below, like a crystal jade belt, about 100 meters wide. Because the river was pregnant with spiritual energy, the river water emitted a little bit of star-like halo, as if there were luminous plankton swimming in it. The rich spiritual energy rose with the flow of the river, bringing a burst of moistness and a cool touch. The air was filled with a faint freshness and sweetness, much like the smell of grass and trees after a rainstorm, making people can't help but take a few deep breaths of the air here. The river water really has spiritual energy. Feeling the wanton spiritual energy, Liu Zilin's expression moved and looked at Chen Qingyun. This spiritual water vein seems to exist. We can find out by going to the upstream area. The two began to explore along the upstream of the underground river. After traveling more than 3,000 miles, they still found that they were in the middle reaches of the river. At this time, a large number of karst channels appeared around, with jagged rocks and many strange sights. In the middle reaches, the width of the underground river increased and decreased from time to time due to the topography. Some areas also derived tributaries, forming more than a dozen small underground rivers, extending to other areas of Huangsha Island. After traveling for 10,000 miles, they finally entered the upstream area, and then more than 30,000 miles. Not far away from the riverbed, the source of the underground river appeared in the area with many rock faults, and a large amount of limestone was born here. As expected, there is an underground water source containing spiritual energy, which is in the form of a lake and is nurtured in the underground rock soil. The area is at least 20,000 square meters, which is very huge. A large number of stalactites were born on the rocks above this water source. Most of the stalactites had some water flowing out from time to time, making a gurgling sound, while a few of them were dripping with a small amount of water, making a ticking sound. Chapter 765 The Secret Underground of Huangsha Island. Obviously, there is either an underground lake here, and the water flowing down from the stalactites has continuously expanded the lake area. Either the entire lake is formed by the accumulation of water on these stalactites. From the initial reservoir, it continued to expand, and after thousands of years, it finally formed what it looks like today. This is a masterpiece of nature's uncanny craftsmanship, quite magical. Each stalactite has left traces of the vicissitudes of life and witnessed a part of history. Chen Qingyun spread out his consciousness and found several reclusive third-level water monsters here, all of which were over 1 meter in size. Because he had revealed his cultivation aura early on, these monster beasts were now entrenched at the bottom of the lake, not daring to show up at all. In addition, there are a few signs of human activities around, with some footprints and the remains of consumed spiritual stones left here. It should be the traces left by the monks on this island. They also discovered this underground spiritual vein. Unfortunately, it is located deep in the mountains. There are still several third-level monsters living in the water. According to their strength, this place is nothing like the Thunder Pond Forbidden Land. The difference, Liu Zilin said. There are only 3 monks from the Shui, Wu, and Lin families, and the Zaifu, and the highest one is in the middle stage of the Zaifu. Looking at the third-level monsters lurking in the water, there are 6 in total, 4 of which are late-stage Zaifu. There is no way that the 3 monks can deal with them. All the monks on the island put together are no match for this monster in the water. Even if you want to get involved with this water spiritual vein, you can only look back and sigh, and you can only settle down and choose the earthly spiritual vein to practice life. As for the golden elixir monsters, they prefer to live on the ground and will not hibernate in this dark underground. Chen Qingyun nodded. The records of the monks on the island did not mention the existence of this water spirit vein. They all reached a consensus and kept this secret. If we had not paid careful attention today, we would have ignored this place. Liu Zilin smiled lightly and said, "You have always been very lucky." They didn't want to reveal it, but we still found it. Let me take a closer look at these lakes and see how much water there is. As soon as she finished speaking, Liu Zilin picked up some water and looked at it carefully, and found pure spiritual energy in it, which actually reached the 5th level of middle grade. Pay attention to the water flowing down from the stalactites, which only contains a little spiritual energy. It seems that the 5th level spiritual energy in this lake does not come from the stalactites. Discovering this, in order to verify the conjecture, Liu Zilin used a ray of purple water fire to burn these water sources. In just the blink of an eye, the water source in the palm of my hand changed rapidly, and most of it evaporated. Except for trace amounts of minerals, a small amount condenses into a solid state, taking on the form of crystal clear jade fat, which contains pure aura. It is indeed a water spirit vein, or a 5th level mid-grade. It can't be wrong. Liu Zilin verified the result. Verification to this point is enough to show that this lake contains the water spirit vein itself. Chen Qingyun also looked at it for a while, and after confirming that there was no problem, he took out the Qingguang gourd and began to collect water from the lake. After about a stick of incense, Chen Qingyun collected about 60% of the entire water source, leaving 40% as a base. We will not take away all the nests here and destroy the ecological environment here. Some must be left to maintain the ecological balance. When you return to the Star Sea, you can use spiritual fire to burn these water sources to purify pure water spiritual veins. Of course, you don't have to extract it, just like this. Satisfied with the resources here, the two smiled at each other, dug a hole with their flying swords, and flew back to the ground. They continued to explore the Topaz Mountain range with great interest to see if there would be any other surprises. Time flies, and after more than 3 months, the two of them have almost reached the northernmost tip of the Topaz Mountains. At this time, the two of them saw the Topaz vein, which was particularly conspicuous on the earth. At first glance, we can see mortals working and mining in the mines. The 3 major families have also sent monks to station around the mines to protect the mortals here. The entire topaz ore vein occupies a large area. It is already considered a large ore vein. It is 2 grades higher than the original hematite ore, which is small or medium. According to the scale of such a large vein, it can be mined for about 500 years. Coupled with the restrictions on the external sale of resources here, the monks on the island do not mine a large amount of topaz veins. They are completely satisfied with their own use and reserve ore resources. This reserve of ore resources will not be stored too much, lest when it is really necessary to move out of Huangsha Island, The amount of ore is huge, exceeding the load-bearing draft of the treasure ship and affecting navigation, so the mining volume is very small. This mineral vein is far away from the Shui, Wu, and Lin families, more than 1,000,000 miles away. This mining is not difficult, but the most expensive thing is the transportation time, which is almost equivalent to crossing half of Huangsha Island. Chen Qingyun paid close attention and found that there were only more than 500 mortals working in the mines, and the work intensity was very light. A small village had been built around it. For the monks on the island, this topaz vein is currently in a state of saturation. The reason why mining is still maintained now is so that this resource is not shelved and each family can share some benefits. Chen Qingyun looked at this mineral vein with great interest. For the Chen family, as long as they can obtain some of the mining rights, it can play a big role. The topaz cannot be exported here, but there is a huge market in the Star Sea, so there is no worry about lack of sales. After observing for a while, the two continued to move forward, choosing to cross the Topaz Mountains directly, without worrying about exposing their tracks. Just when Bai Ling flew into the sky and flew over the Topaz Mountains, the Shui family monk stationed in the mine noticed it and paid attention to Bai Ling at the first time. Purple Mansion Stage Monster. Seeing Bai Ling, the monk subconsciously thought that there was a monster coming to attack the mine, and hurriedly looked startled and called the monks of the other two families stationed here. The three foundation building monks appeared outside, their eyes followed Bai Ling's moving figure, and they were extremely vigilant, and their hearts were very nervous. They were even thinking about how to escape, knowing that they were far from being opponents of the third-level monster. Until one of them saw the two figures standing on Bai Ling. His expression suddenly moved, and he couldn't help shouting, "There's someone on the back of that demon beast. It looks like a spirit beast, probably that foreign cultivator. Quickly notify the family, quickly notify the family." The other two cultivators also looked up and had received a message from the family, telling them to pay attention to the strange faces on the island recently. Now that they saw Chen Qingyun and the other two who could control the Purple Mansion spirit beast, they could see the reason behind this and realized what was going on. Chapter 766, Spiritual Pet Advancement. Due to the limited transmission distance of the Huangming Mirror, it can only transmit messages within 1,000 miles at most. This place is far away from the clan land, more than 1,000,000 miles away, and it is impossible to transmit the message to the clan from here. The three of them could only use the Huangming Mirror to record the figures of Chen Qingyun and Bai Ling, leaving evidence. Then they quickly discussed a few words and asked the Shui family monks to fly directly from the outer edge of the Huang mountain range to the family residence to report the news. Chen Qingyun was spotted by the monks on the island, but he didn't care about it. He asked Bai Ling to fly over the Huangstone vein and continue along the mountain range. On the 10th day, the mountain range gradually became low and gentle, and finally merged into the plain. The entire Huang mountain range was explored. This entire exploration journey lasted for nearly 5 months in total. The whole process was mainly based on the sweep of the divine consciousness, and many spiritual objects were discovered. Otherwise, it would take at least 10 or 20 years to see it with just the eyes. The harvest this time was not small, with a large amount of water spirit veins and 20 Vajra dragon elephant cubs. The rest of the harvest was mainly in the form of spiritual medicines. A total of 369 spiritual medicines were obtained, including 233 first level, 128 second level, 7 third level, and 1 fourth level. The only fourth level spiritual medicine is called Hanli grass. This grass contains strong ice power and can be used to refine 5th level pills such as Bingaling pill or Hanin pill, which has a significant effect on nourishing the body of the Yuanyang Dao. This Hanli grass was found in a deep pool, surrounded by more than a dozen 2nd level demon crocodiles guarding it, which were easily driven away by Chen Qingyun. It is worth mentioning that this cold pool is connected to an underground river and is a product of geological changes in the past 200 years. This Hanli grass is about 110 years old and has reached the maturity standard. In addition to spiritual medicines, there are also some monster resources harvested, and some monsters that actively attack are encountered. For example, When picking the third-level snaketail flower, tens of thousands of fire crystal ants attacked quickly, but were destroyed by Chen Qingyun's sun-essence fire. When picking Qingguang chewy flowers on a river, more than a dozen silver-toothed hippos surrounded them and launched an attack. Another example is picking 5-flowered fruit in a dense forest and being chased by hundreds of monkeys. This is picking fruits from other people's territory. If it weren't for the fact that the amount of monkey wine brewed by the other party was too small, although the monkey wine had been found in the monkey cave. But considering that the monkey wine was too little and had little effect on the giant and cultivator, Chen Qingyun and his companions did not collect the monkey wine for humane reasons, and only picked dozens of 5-flowered fruits. As for those ferocious monsters that attacked actively, Chen Qingyun was not polite. He collected as many as he came, and he would not be dissatisfied with the number of monster pills. In the past 5 months, the number of monsters killed by the two has reached 36. There were 2 giant and stage beasts, 16 Xifu stage beasts, and the rest were all first and second level monsters. The giant and monster was a monster bird named Whitewater Vulture. It suddenly swooped down from the clouds and attacked Bailing, and was beheaded by Chen Qingyun with a sword. After completing this exploration, the two took a break and stopped at the northernmost end of the Yellow Jade Mountains. Soon after, they continued to go north, flew out of Huangsha Island, and went to the Boundary Sea to take a look. At this time, they counted the harvest. This time, because the Lingzhu divine milk was completely absorbed and digested, Bailing was the first to change. I saw that its soar had increased. From the early stage of Xifu, it successfully advanced to the middle stage of Xifu, and further improved to the late stage of Xifu. This effect is quite obvious, which surprised Chen Qingyun. It's worthy of being called the spirit candle god milk. It can directly raise the third-level spirit beast by 2 small realms. It's really amazing. Chen Qingyun was delighted, reached out and touched Bailing's big head, and said with a smile, "You have reached the late stage of the Purple Mansion now." Liu Zilin also reached out and touched Bailing's head, smiled and looked at Chen Qingyun and said, "Your spirit beasts are so amazing, all cultivated to the middle and late stages of the Purple Mansion. With you, Bailing still has a chance to break through to the 4th level." Liu Zilin is already very familiar with Bailing and knows that she is from the Tanfu Beast clan. Bailing is not repulsive to Liu Zilin and regards her as the closest person to her master. The two just secretly rejoiced at the changes on Bailing's side, and soon Mo Ling and Bei Ling in the Blessed Land Beat also reacted one after another. Because Mo Ling and Bei Ling are stronger than Bailing, they need more resources to break through to the next realm. So, after taking the spirit candle god milk this time, they did not break through 2 small realms in succession, but were promoted to the late stage of the Purple Mansion. Among them, Bei Ling, because he had taken the 10,000 beasts spiritual liquid before, could break through to the late Purple Mansion in 3 or 4 years. This time, with the blessing of the spirit candle god milk, not only did the breakthrough time greatly shorten, but he was already at the bottleneck of the late Purple Mansion. If he took some more treasures, he could break through to the peak of the Purple Mansion in one fell swoop. Among the 3 spiritual pets, Bei Ling is now the strongest in terms of strength. Chen Qingyun is very satisfied with the breakthrough effect of the 3 spiritual pets. Compared with letting them grow and advance with the advantage of bloodline, with the help of the spirit candle god milk, the advancement speed is greatly shortened, and they are a few steps closer to breaking through the golden core stage in the future. Chen Qingyun released all the 3 spiritual pets and let them play and hunt near this mountain range. Thinking that there were still 6 green yuan fruits in the harvest, Chen Qingyun took them all out and used them to feed the 6-winged miasma cloud beast to see if they could stimulate them to reproduce on a large scale. The green yuan fruit is very attractive to spirit insects. Once it was taken out, it firmly attracted the attention of thousands of 6-winged miasma bees. Chen Qingyun cut the green yuan fruit into 36 portions, trying to let the little guys eat a little. The green yuan fruit was quickly surrounded by the spirit bees, who ate it in small bites. After a while, they finished eating it. Even the core was eaten cleanly. Chen Qingyun stretched out his palm, and several spirit bees landed on his hand. Looking carefully, He did not see any abnormal behavior from the little guys now. The effect of this green yuan fruit will be known later. It will not be effective now. Be patient and wait. After leaving the blessed land bead, Chen Qingyun and Liu Zilin began to absorb the essence of the Qingguang flower, preparing to increase some strength before flying away from Huangsha Island and exploring the boundary sea. There were 3 Qingguang flowers in total, and Chen Qingyun took out 2 and gave them to Liu Zilin. Qingyun, it's more important to improve your strength. Liu Zilin smiled and shook her head. She had no intention of accepting the Qingguang flower. She wanted to leave all such good things to Chen Qingyun. This thing is what you and I have obtained together. You are now almost at the bottleneck of the early stage of the golden core. With the help of this Qingguang flower, you may be able to successfully break through to the middle stage of the golden core. This time, your strength improvement is equally important. There is no need to be polite between you and me. After hearing what Chen Qingyun said, Liu Zilin no longer refused, but only accepted 1 Qingguang flower, and left the other 2 to Chen Qingyun. Chapter 767 Golden Core Peak. First, Liu Zilin began to refine the Qingguang flower, and Chen Qingyun was guarding on the side. In the blink of an eye, a month passed, and Liu Zilin finished refining the Qingguang flower, and her strength really improved significantly. Because she had added 30 years of hard work, she broke through to the middle stage of the golden core in one fell swoop, which made her look happy. She opened her eyes and shared the good news with Chen Qingyun. This harvest was expected, and Chen Qingyun also began to refine the Qingguang flower. After refining the first plant, his cultivation did not improve much. He was already in the late stage of the golden core. To break through the peak of the golden core, according to the normal cultivation speed, it would take about 100 years. The second Qingguang flower was refined, and this time he reached the bottleneck of the late stage of the golden core, and he was only 1 step away from breaking through. Chen Qingyun simply took out the demon pills of the Black Rock Lion and the White Water Vulture, and combined with more than a dozen other second-level and third-level demon pills to start breaking through. This time, refining the demon pill lasted for almost a month, and the bottleneck period began to loosen, with signs of a breakthrough. Chen Qingyun continued to work hard and practiced in seclusion for another 4 months. He finally broke through the shackles and entered the peak of the giant stage. The improvement brought by strength, because he already had a foundation of soul cultivation. The maximum release distance of his consciousness has reached 1,000 miles. This consciousness strength is far beyond that of ordinary giant and peak cultivators. At the same time, because of the improvement in strength, Chen Qingyun spent another 9 days to nurture the Flame Emperor Bell. After such efforts, this life treasure was cultivated to the 4th level top grade. The grade of the Flame Emperor Bell is determined according to the cultivator's cultivation. As long as it is cultivated with the method, it can be upgraded to the level of spiritual treasure in a later stage. On the day when Chen Qingyun broke through the barrier. In the Shui family, many cultivators gathered in the welcoming hall again to continue to discuss. Shui Nuian held a yellow mirror in his hand, and a picture appeared on the mirror, showing a scene of a large green bird soaring over the mountains. According to the angle of the record, 2 figures, 1 male and 1 female, can be vaguely seen standing on it. This green bird, without a doubt, who else could it be but Biling? Those 2 people are naturally Chen Qingyun and Liu Zilin. Everyone, you can see clearly, this is the information recorded by Shui Hongliang and others 6 months ago. Do you know this green spiritual bird? Have you ever seen the 2 people on the spiritual bird? Shui Nuian asked loudly. Before answering this question, you might as well listen to what my younger generation saw and heard that day. Hongliang, tell them everything. Shui Hongliang is one of the 3 monks stationed in the Yellow Jade Vein. The other Wuhazi and Lin Heian stayed in the vein to guard and did not come back to send a message. It is precisely because the Yellow Jade Vein is too far away from here. This trip took Shui Hongliang 6 months. During this period, he also used many magic lightning talismans to travel faster, and constantly replenished his spiritual power with spiritual stones, and then returned to the Shui family's land. Otherwise, How could a foundation-building cultivator like him travel more than 1.1 million miles in 6 months? Fortunately, the three families took into account the expenses required to travel from the topaz mine. The three families can reimburse the talismans and spiritual stone resources consumed by Shui Hongliang together. Shui Hongliang is still a little tired now. According to Shui Nuian's instructions, he truthfully repeated the scenes he saw 6 months ago. Before holding this meeting, everyone had learned some news from the Shui family, and now they immediately held a meeting to discuss this matter. At this moment, hearing Shui Hongliang's story, the more he listened, the more worried he became. When Shui Hongliang finished his story, Lin Yuanming shook his head and said, "According to the description of your younger generation, the blue spiritual bird they saw, although they don't know its origin and what race it belongs to, has reached the 3rd level. I have never seen such a powerful spiritual bird on the island. It seems that this is not born in the Yellow Jade Mountains." This time, Wu Dihai did not confront Lin Yuanming, but took this matter very seriously. He showed a solemn look and said with emotion, "Yes, that is a 3rd-level spiritual bird. Its strength is comparable to the top cultivators of our three families. And what level of strength can the cultivator who can control such a spiritual bird reach?" This made many people gasp. According to the normal rules of beast control, cultivators can often only control spiritual beasts with lower cultivation than themselves. For example, Purple Mansion cultivators control 2nd-level spiritual beasts, foundation-building cultivators control 1st-level spiritual beasts, and cannot control spiritual beasts that exceed their own strength. Otherwise they are likely to suffer backlash. They were very clear about this. In order to strengthen their own strength, they had gone to the Yellow Jade Mountains many times to catch some young spirit beasts to train. Being able to control a 3rd-level spirit bird means at least the strength of the middle stage of the Purple Mansion. A female elder of the Wu family said, "Having such ability can already be on par with the strongest among us. If they are hostile to us, how should we deal with it?" As for the strength of Chen Qingyun and the others, everyone began to speculate. Most people agreed that they had reached the middle stage of the Purple Mansion or above, at most the peak of the Purple Mansion. Even so, this kind of strength was enough to easily destroy their family cultivators. Listening to the discussion of the crowd, Shui Nuian had his own thoughts and said in a nonchalant tone, "If it is just the strength of the Purple Mansion stage, we are underestimating them too much." As a cultivator in the middle stage of the Purple Mansion, Shui Nuian knew the strength of the Xuanian lion best. He thought that he had no chance of winning the fight and could only stay away from it. Thinking of this, he raised his eyebrows and said, "We should still think about the bad side of this matter. Have you ever thought that they might be the ones who fought with the Xuanian lion that day?" As soon as these words came out, the whole audience fell into silence. After a short silence, Wu Dihai said in disbelief, "To be able to fight the Xuanian lion, their strength, this is at least the Golden Core stage. Is this the Golden Core ancestor? What else?" Shui Nuian asked back, and the hall was silent again. This meeting lasted only 1 stick of incense. Finally, under Shui Nuian's suggestion, don't track the whereabouts of Chen Qingyun and the others, so as not to offend them for no reason. In his opinion, since Chen Qingyun and the others have not visited any of their families and have not contacted them, they don't seem to be interested in them. The only thing that can be of some interest is probably something in the Huang Mountains, otherwise it would not appear in the depths of the mountains. If you can't afford to offend them, just hide away. As it involves giant and cultivators, Wu Dihai, Lin Yuanming and others dare not offend. For the time being, they can only adopt Shui Nuian's suggestion and continue to pay attention to the whereabouts of Chen Qingyun and the others, but not track them. According to Shui Nuian's words, doing so is also out of respect for the strong. Chapter 768. Entering the sea boundary. The meeting was over, and the monks from the 3 major families and 6 major tribes were now somewhat apprehensive. They were really afraid that the foreign monks who came to the island were hostile and wanted to fight them, and came here to occupy the magpie's nest. The sight shifted to Chen Qingyun. With his cultivation improved, Chen Qingyun summoned by Ling and the others back. The three spirit pets moved freely during this period, hunting in the surrounding area and killing many monsters. This also brought some gains to Chen Qingyun, and he obtained more than 30 demon pills. There were 6 third level, 15 second level, and the rest were first level. After putting away Mo Ling and Bei Ling, the two continued to fly away from the Huang Mountains on Bai Ling. On the second day, they had reached the northern coastline of Huangsha Island. At this time, looking around, a scene of sea and sky appeared in the distance. From a visual point of view, the water of the boundary sea is also dark blue. The sea water is clear and pure, and contains a large number of microorganisms. Just looking at this calm scene, it does not make people feel that this is an abnormally dangerous sea area. Instead, it seems to be a good place for sightseeing and sailing, where you can enjoy the beautiful ocean scenery. But the fact is that behind these beauties, the hidden crisis can wipe out giant cultivators and make Xifu cultivators stay away and dare not set foot easily. The front is the boundary sea area. After entering the sea area, be careful. Let's use the boundary beads and windproof robes in advance. Chen Qingyun suggested, still prefer to be safe and use the equipment first. The natural disasters in this boundary sea change rapidly, so you must be alert and never be careless. Okay. Liu Zilin nodded lightly, and used the windproof robe and the boundary beads to protect herself. Chen Qingyun did the same, and used the two magic weapons at the same time. The light of the boundary beads fell and enveloped his body, forming a circle of protective shield. As for the understanding of the boundary sea, the two did not know much, but only stayed in the sloppy records and descriptions of the monks on Huangsha Island. After entering the boundary sea, the most fearful thing is not the monsters or monks, but the space cracks and strong winds here. The two have seen the power of these two natural disasters. With the plan of exploring the boundary sea, the two carefully moved around the boundary sea for 3 or 4 days, and found that since leaving Huangsha Island, they had not seen another island along the way. There was not even a micro-island, and the vast sea was all around. The number of islands here is very rare, and it is even more barren than the outer sea. The two felt that everything was normal along the way, and there was no natural disaster, which was quite pleasant. Until this day, after flying 30,000 to 40,000 miles in the sea, there was a sound of rolling waves not far away, and a dark cloud appeared in the sky. A large amount of sea water was rolled up to the sky by several tornadoes, and it was torn apart from the stream, turning into heavy rain. A large number of fish mixed in the sea water were affected, all turned into fragments and scattered in the sea water, and a strong and terrifying storm blew up in the world. This was a small strong wind that could threaten the foundation building cultivators. Even so, the two did not go up to contact it, and chose to take a detour. When they continued to move forward, less than 100 miles away, the strong wind appeared on the sea again. This time, the intensity of this strong wind was even greater, and the area swept reached a radius of 10,000 meters. This fierce strong wind was not only sharp, like a high-speed rotating blade, but also moved quickly on the sea surface, splitting the water and breaking the waves and sweeping towards the two people. Before it got close, the residual power of the strong wind made people feel painful at a distance of several hundred meters, and it showed its terrifying side from a distance. Fortunately, with the protection of the windproof robe, this sense of threat was reduced by half. Otherwise, if other creatures were placed here, just facing the residual power of the strong wind would be enough to drink a pot. The two people took a detour and avoided this strong wind. 3 days later, the natural disaster reappeared, and for the first time encountered the obstruction of space cracks. 2 space cracks that crossed the sky and earth and seemed to be boundless appeared in the void on the sea in front. These 2 space cracks were very eye-catching, like a piece of sky that was torn into 2 narrow and long holes by people. With the naked eye, you can't see the edge at all. In these 2 space holes, colorful space turbulence is flowing. These turbulences look colorful and beautiful, but in fact, any one of them is enough to match the strong wind. Any matter within 100 meters of the space crack will be sucked into it, and the consequences can be imagined. A large amount of seawater was sucked into it. Due to the characteristics of water, It was torn apart and reassembled countless times, and it kept making a clattering sound. It was visible to the naked eye that some monsters were sucked into the space cracks before they could figure out what was going on. The next second, they were torn into pieces, adding a touch of blood-red color to the original colorfulness. Even the thick-skinned monsters can be torn apart easily, not to mention mortals and cultivators. The spirit ship is not as flexible as the monsters in the water, and the main material is still mostly wood. If it falls into the space crack, it will be as fragile as paper. This is only less than 30,000 miles in the Boundary Sea, and it has encountered 2 strong winds in one space crack. If it embarks on a long voyage in the future, encountering such natural disasters will be commonplace. The road ahead was dangerous, and the two of them decided not to take the risk. Without a detailed map of the Boundary Sea, running around here was like walking into a minefield. No one could be sure whether they would step on a mine and die there. The two returned along the original route, and after walking more than 800 miles, they found that they had underestimated the dangers hidden in the Boundary Sea. The scenery in the sea ahead was a bit strange. The sky looked clear and blue, and it was a calm scene. But the strange thing was that the sea water there was not blue, but a deep and dark black. That's right. It was pure black. At a glance, the endless black sea water could not even refract any light. Such a scene only made people feel a bit of a weird atmosphere. In that Black Sea area, it seemed that there were unknown dangers lurking everywhere in the sea. Once you set foot in it, it seemed that you would be attacked by unknown creatures in the sea at any time. Strange, we are returning along the original route, without taking a detour. When did such a Black Sea appear? Chen Qingyun narrowed his eyes, realizing something was wrong. It's the Black Waters. Seeing the Black Sea not far away, Liu Zilin recognized its origin, and could not help but frown, pulling Chen Qingyun to stop. When we passed by here before, there was nothing unusual here, but this Black Waters is so strange, as if it was created out of thin air. Chen Qingyun heard the words Black Waters, and his brows also frowned slightly. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelist. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 769, Exploring the Black Waters. The so-called Black Waters are a kind of death landform that appears randomly in the Boundary Sea, much like spots appearing on a piece of white paper, which will gradually become the source of pollution of the entire white paper. How terrible it is! Judging from the information learned from Huangsha Island, the two people are still unclear because there are too few records. Because according to the records, the Black Waters do not have a fixed generation area, but like a ghost, they will appear at will on the sea, and it is impossible to locate where they will appear next time. And there are only two endings for mortals or monks who see the Black Waters. Either they evacuate in time and stay away from it, or they enter the Black Waters and never return, completely disappearing, and no one knows what happened after that. The two people have just arrived, and it is the first time they have seen this mysterious Black Waters, and they are subconsciously alert in their hearts. The entire Blackwater area covers an area of at least 10,000 square meters, and the whole is a circle, slowly spreading outward. Looking down from the air, the Black Waters are like a drop of ink dripping into clear water. With the ink drop as the center, the ripples around were all dyed black at this moment. This black color will not become thinner or fade away due to the addition of water, but will always maintain the extreme blackness, like a black dye that is not affected by water quality. Chen Qingyun looked at it intently and found that with the eyesight of a giant cultivator, he could only see a depth of about 3 meters underwater at most. Further down, it was pitch black and nothing could be seen. If a mortal were here, he would not be able to see what was in the sea at all, but only the boundless black. Sailing in such an environment for a long time is a great test for people's psychology. This also requires guarding against external attacks such as sea monsters, strong winds, and space debris. This shows how difficult it is to sail in the Boundary Sea. Chen Qingyun did not take risks easily. In order to find out the truth, He had a bottom line in his heart and released a phoenix to fly towards the black waters. The phoenix spread its wings and flew, and soon hovered over the black waters. The shadow of the phoenix, which was originally projected on the blue sea under the sunlight, was completely swallowed up after entering the black waters, and there was no sign of it. This extremely deep black water made Chen Qingyun alert, and he felt that something must be lurking in the sea. He raised the flying altitude of the phoenix to avoid being attacked by the sea monsters. Liu Zilin was well prepared, controlling the Xuanlingwood sword, and several third-level spiritual talismans were suspended in front of her, ready to be launched at any time. Although there were no signs of space cracks, the sea looked calm and peaceful. There were no natural disasters or traces of monsters in the black waters for the time being, but the two did not dare to be careless and began to pay close attention. The phoenix circled over the black waters for a while, and everything was safe and sound. I don't know if it was good luck or there was no danger flying in the sky. In order to explore the situation in the water, Chen Qingyun thought about it and simply controlled the phoenix to fall into the sea. That is, when the phoenix was close to the sea surface, about 1 meter away, it was clearly felt that a suction force suddenly appeared, pulling the phoenix into the sea. This was very much like a magnetic force, not an attack from some creature. Chen Qingyun felt it carefully and found that the phoenix was like this, and there was no sign of attenuation or a loss of control due to this mysterious suction force. A strong sense of exploration surged in his heart. Liu Zilin noticed Chen Qingyun's strange color and couldn't help asking, "Is there something wrong?" Chen Qingyun replied, "There is a force in this black water area that is pulling the phoenix. I don't know what's going on yet. However, since we have come here and come to this step, why don't I explore it again? We will always have to face this black water area in the future. Okay, be careful." Chen Qingyun simply let the phoenix be sucked into the sea. At the moment of entering the sea, he felt like he was trapped in a quagmire. The magic weapon suddenly disappeared and was covered by black water. Through the vision of the phoenix, Chen Qingyun saw that the surroundings were silent, and there was no fish at all. Looking down, there was a bottomless deep-sea area, like a huge abyss lying below, full of unknowns. This visual sense easily makes people dare not explore deeper. Moreover, the mysterious suction force continued, trying to pull the phoenix into the darker deep sea. Fortunately, there was a phoenix in hand, so there was nothing to worry about. Continuing to go deeper into the black waters, about 20 meters down, Chen Qingyun began to clearly feel that the connection between himself and the phoenix began to weaken. There was a force that was affecting the connection between the magic weapon and himself. Observing the surroundings carefully, except for the pitch-black darkness, so dark that it was suffocating, nothing could be seen. Even when the phoenix's side was shifted to the sea surface, the scene that could be seen was pitch black, and there was no light from the sun on the sea surface. In such an environment, there is no way to find a reference to identify the direction, and it is really confusing. This shocked Chen Qingyun. He is a giant and cultivator, and he is using a phoenix to explore. If he fell into this black water, he would be lost and unable to tell the direction. Feeling the mystery and unknown of this black water area, the Luan bird continued to be pulled downwards by the force. After just a moment, Chen Qingyun felt that it was becoming increasingly difficult to control the Luan bird. If it goes deeper than 10 meters, I am afraid that it will directly lose contact with the Luan bird, and then the Luan bird will be damaged here. Chen Qingyun immediately issued the order to withdraw. The Luan bird activated its flying ability, and under the control of mana, it quickly rose into the sky from the sea, rushed out of the sea with a puff, and returned to the world, getting rid of the suction. Chen Qingyun called the Luaniao back to him and looked carefully. It could be seen that the magic weapon itself showed signs of mottled decay, as if it had been corroded by something. Fortunately, this only exists on the surface and does not damage the Luan bird's pattern and internal structure. What, a weird black water? This Luan bird is a top-notch magic weapon. In just a short time, the surface of the Luan bird has been corroded into this appearance. If a monk is in it, how long can it last? Seeing the changes on Luan bird's surface, Liu Zilin said with some fear, "Based on your strength and mine alone, We must never step into these dark waters. It's better to stay away. Chen Qingyun said. The origin of these landforms is still a mystery for the time being, and the monks on Huangsha Island do not know it. What can only be certain is that this is from the era of the ancient destruction, a product left over from that shocking war. It is not surprising that the ancient monks had great powers and abilities, leaving behind some strange and unpredictable things. Seeing the danger in the Boundary Sea, the two of them had no intention of moving forward, so they evacuated and flew towards Huangsha Island along the original path. Chapter 770 Dawn. When the two left the black waters and went a few hundred meters away. In the depths of this black waters, in the originally extremely dark deep sea. At this moment, a pair of blood-red eyes suddenly lit up. The two pupils were bright, strange, and as big as a person. A huge sea creature whose body was covered by the sea water and whose origin could not be seen woke up in the deep sea of the black waters, moved its body, and startled a large number of microorganisms deposited here. The next moment, this creature closed its eyes again and returned to tranquility. The light in the eyes was covered and completely disappeared, as if it had never appeared. On the way back, when they were only more than 100 miles away from Huangsha Island, the two encountered a space crack again. Fortunately, this space crack was not large, only more than 200 meters in size. Although it appeared suddenly, it stretched across the heads of the two. With the protection of the World Transformation Pearl, the spreading space turbulence was resisted by 1 or 2% of the remaining power, and the danger was resolved without any danger. When he returned to Huangsha Island, Chen Qingyun secretly breathed a sigh of relief, and experienced the sense of crisis brought by this world. The Boundary Sea is indeed a Boundary Sea. This has not yet reached the edge of the Boundary Sea. There are more and larger space cracks at the edge of the Boundary Sea, constantly tearing and swallowing up everything visible around, expanding towards the center of the inner sea. The weirdness of the black waters impressed Chen Qingyun even more. He did not dare to underestimate it at all, and felt that the world was so big that there was really nothing strange. The three major families were able to cross a large area of the Boundary Sea and successfully landed on Huangsha Island. It was lucky that half of the people were lost. If things go wrong, it would be normal even if the whole army was wiped out. Whether to continue exploring later, Chen Qingyun did not intend to die. Without great benefits, he would naturally not choose to run deep into the Boundary Sea. Liu Zilin also suggested that the exploration should stop here. The two began to return to the teleportation array cave along the original route, called out by Ling, and began to fly on the spirit beast. When going back, I always felt that it took much less time than when I came here. The two of them often paid attention to the situation in the mountains along the way to see if there were any resources missing. They actually harvested more than a dozen spiritual herbs. Because they had explored the underground river before, they did not explore the surface mountain area, so they took the opportunity to explore it. Almost 5 months later, the two returned to the teleportation array cave. This place is already in the southern part of the Yellow Jade Mountains. The surrounding area has been explored almost completely, and there are no resources worth looking up. Because the three cultivators have planted a large number of spies in the Yellow Jade Mountains, they are specifically used to pay attention to the movements of foreign cultivators and pay attention to any disturbances. Chen Qingyun and the others came and went openly without any cover-up. These recent movements were soon noticed by these spies and updated to the three major families in real time. Several cultivators from the 6 major tribes also witnessed and sent messages to the three major families. On the day when the two returned to the teleportation array cave, the three families held a meeting again to prepare for the first contact with Chen Qingyun and the others. This matter has been kept secret, and without clarifying the purpose of Chen Qingyun and the others, Hunyuan and others began to panic, and they were really afraid that someone would come to their house one day. It is better to take the initiative and show goodwill. Hunyuan's face was full of seriousness. He looked at the heads of the Wu and Lin families and spoke slowly. Chief Wu, Chief Lin, you have all received the news. The last trace of the two people was entering the cave on the cliff, where there is a teleportation array that has been invalid for a long time. Now, It is hard not to suspect that they may be the builders of the cave and have an inseparable relationship with the teleportation array. When the teleportation array was mentioned, many people present did not show any fluctuations in their expressions. Because it is not a secret that there is a teleportation array on the island. This teleportation array was discovered more than 200 years ago. After the initial confidentiality, and then the subsequent leaks, and finally spread to 10 to 100, and gradually everyone knew about it. The people present had heard about this matter a long time ago. A few cultivators had been to that cave and had contact with that teleportation array. But Hunyuan's words now involved the construction of that cave and were also related to the teleportation array. Everyone began to look at each other, realizing that this might be a big surprise, and saw the dawn of leaving Huangsha Island. Chief Shui, do you think the two foreign cultivators are related to the ineffective teleportation array? Could it be that, as you guessed, the teleportation array was built by them? Lin Yuandao, the head of the Lin family, thought about it and took the lead in answering. This made the eyes of several people present brighten, and they were more certain of their guesses. A Wu family foundation building cultivator looked delighted and couldn't help saying, "They built the teleportation array. If that's true, we should seize this opportunity. Whether it is an opportunity or not, we need to ask more clearly." Lin Yuandao responded, then looked at Shui Nuian and asked, "Chief Shui, I want to ask you by the way, when your Shui family first landed on Huangsha Island more than 400 years ago, are you sure you didn't find the teleportation array? At that time, the formation hadn't been built yet, right?" "Yes." Shui Nuian nodded heavily and said, "There was no cave in that area back then, and there was no trace of the teleportation array. I can be sure of that. As for the time when the cave was discovered later, it was 246 years ago. It's a coincidence. At that time, several descendants of my clan entered the cave by chance because they were tracking several sharp-toothed tigers. It's just strange that there was no trace of cultivators in the cave at that time. It seemed to have been vacant for a long time. As for the teleportation array, it couldn't be activated. The most critical teleportation order was missing, which was particularly strange." "Yeah." Lin Yuandao shook his head slightly and said, "Without the teleportation order, this teleportation array is just a pile of scrap metal. Even if it falls into our hands, how can we be qualified to use it?" "Yes," Shui Nuian said. "According to our abilities, we don't have the means to obtain void crystals, nor do we have the ability to refine teleportation orders. So, up to now, the teleportation array has been shelved there. Over time, it is almost forgotten." Shui Nuian repeated the specific situation in detail. To sum up, when the cave was discovered, there was no defensive ban in the cave. In the entire cave, there was no treasure except for a teleportation array which was of some value. As for the spiritual stones in the teleportation array, they tried to dig them out. But there was a protective ban set in the array, and the Purple Mansion cultivators alone could not break it. The existence of the teleportation array was not something that Purple Mansion cultivators could touch, and at least they needed to be at the Golden Core stage. After that, the array could not be used, and they were worried that they would offend others if they broke into their cave. In order to protect themselves, the Shui family had to retreat, sealed the place up, and did not allow the clan members to set foot there. Chapter 771, Visit. After that, in the subsequent observations of more than 200 years, no traces of strange cultivators were found around the cave. As time went by, the Shui family gradually forgot about this matter. If it weren't for the appearance of Chen Qingyun and the other person, and now they have entered the cave, the Shui family would not have associated the appearance of the two with the cave. After listening to Shui Nuian's story, Wu Dihai pondered for a while and said, "If the cave was built by them, then they would appear on the island and have the strength of the giant stage, then all this makes sense." "Yes." Lin Yuandao nodded. With the magical powers of the giant cultivators, whether it is killing the Xuanyan lion, moving freely in the depths of the Huang Mountains, or building a teleportation array, These are easy for them. Last month, several of us went to the Xuanyan lion's territory in person and verified that the Xuanyan lion had been eliminated. We can now be sure that their strength must be far greater than ours. Let's find a way to pay a visit and leave a good impression in front of them. If we can use that teleportation array, maybe. Although he didn't finish the words, everyone present guessed what he meant. An elder of the Shui family said with bright eyes and some excitement, although we don't know where the teleportation array leads to, it is worth it to take us out of the boundary sea. Not bad, not bad. I hope so. Several voices of surprise rang out in the hall, all looking forward to the teleportation array being able to be used and leading to the outside of the boundary sea. In this way, they can go to a new home, and they won't worry about the attacks of the strong wind and space cracks all day long, and they will always be worried. They wouldn't be trapped here for hundreds of years and wouldn't dare to go out. Shui Yuan also had this idea in his mind, but he was unsure when he thought about dealing with giant and cultivators. After a while, the head of the Shui family sighed and said, "The teleportation array is extremely precious. I'm afraid they won't let us use it easily. We should be down to earth and try to gain their favor. If we can get their protection, our future life will be much better." This statement was recognized by everyone. As long as we hold the thigh of the giant and cultivator, there may be a chance to make further progress in cultivation and obtain some opportunities and treasures in the future. It is not impossible to leave the boundary sea. This is definitely a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. I think it's better to do it this way and contact them as soon as possible. If they are hostile to us, they would have attacked us long ago. Why wait until now? Lin Yuanming said. Wu Dihai also had a serious look on his face, and he put himself in the shoes of the descendants of the family and said, "This is about the teleportation array. Even if there is a glimmer of hope, we must try our best to fight for it. You have all seen that in recent years, natural disasters have become more and more frequent, and we are panicking from time to time. If one day—" "Hey, you curl mouth, shut up." Wu Dihai's words were interrupted, and Lin Yuanming glared at Wu Dihai with ill intentions, saying with some displeasure, "Just know it in your heart, why say it out loud?" "Haha, okay, shut up, shut up." Wu Dihai laughed, without the intention of quarreling, and said no more. Lin Yuanming continued, "I don't think there is much to discuss. We just need to take the initiative and send a few representatives from each family to visit them. Everyone, do you have any other ideas?" "Well, it's a very simple matter. There is really no need to discuss it. I agree with Elder Lin's opinion. Let's do it this way." "I agree too." The meeting quickly came to a conclusion. The crowd finally selected 3 candidates to represent the 3 major families. The 6 major tribes, because their strength was too low, did not intend to participate. They were all decided by the 3 major families and were vassals of the 3 major families. More than 10 miles outside the teleportation array cave. Shui Yuan, Wu Dihai, and Lin Yuandao drove the flying boat to the outside of the teleportation array cave. After landing, they looked at each other and thought about how to visit. It has come to this point, now it's just a matter of speaking to see if they can get the qualification to enter the cave. If they say something wrong and provoke the other party, it will make enemies for the family, which is not worth it. At the same time, in the cave, Liu Zilin noticed the movement outside the cave, and simply scanned with her spiritual sense, and found Shui Yuan and the other 2. She turned her head to look at Chen Qingyun, smiled slightly and said, "They sent 3 monks. As you expected, they really can't sit still." Chen Qingyun didn't pay attention to the movement outside. He guessed that someone was coming to visit, and said with a smile, "Let's see what they are here for. We have to contact them after all." Outside the cave, Shui Yuan and the other 2 were all heads of the same family, and they were still somewhat smooth in dealing with people. After a few simple discussions, Shui Yuan took the initiative as a representative and shouted to the cave. "Junior, Shui family head Shui Yuan. Junior, Wu family head Wu Dihai. Junior, Lin family head Lin Yuandao." The 3 of them introduced their origins one after another, and then said in unison, "Today, I have come to visit you, Senior. I wonder if you are willing to do me the honor of seeing you." Hearing the voice outside the cave, which was extremely clear with the blessing of magic power, Chen Qingyun recognized Hunyuan and the other two, and had some impression of them. Two of them were in the Purple Mansion stage, and one was in the Foundation Establishment stage. The three were elders of the three major families. They came to visit with great sincerity. Seeing this, Chen Qingyun did not mean to turn anyone away, and responded lightly, "Come in." After entering the cave respectfully and seeing the golden elixir cultivator in their minds, Hunyuan and the other two did not dare to breathe, and stood in a row like children. They looked at Chen Qingyun and the other two with a little curiosity, and were surprised that the two were so young, and wanted to look at them more. When they saw the eyes of the two, they smiled and avoided them, not daring to look directly at them. Just when the three felt that the atmosphere was a little tense, they felt that it was not right to stand or sit, and if they did not speak again, they would be embarrassed. Hunyuan observed the expressions of the two people and saw that Chen Qingyun was the most respected among them. He was the first to break the silence and said with a respectful look, "I am here to disturb you today. I hope you two seniors will forgive me. We are all cultivators on Huangsha Island. It is really a great honor for you to visit Huangsha Island and stay here recently." As the head of the family, although he said this politely, he did not ask Chen Qingyun and the others where they came from or whether they were cultivators on the island. But as long as he answered the question and did not refute it, he would admit that he was an outsider cultivator. Chapter 772 Negotiation. Having already prepared to contact the monks on the island, Chen Qingyun and the others could not fail to understand the meaning of Hunyuan's words. Liu Zilin glanced at Hunyuan and the other two indifferently, without any intention of speaking, but just sat quietly beside Chen Qingyun, looking like a virtuous wife. Chen Qingyun's eyes moved, and he looked at Hunyuan and the other two with interest, without refuting or revealing any of his origins. This was the first time they met, so naturally they could not expose their family background as soon as they met. "Sit down." Chen Qingyun spoke, motioning the three to sit down. "Thank you, Senior." Hunyuan was very reserved, smiled and sat down slowly. The other two, Wu Dihai and Lin Yuandao, smiled politely, and sat down, one on the left and one on the right. Among the three, Hunyuan was the leader at the moment, and at this moment, he was staring at each other, motioning to take the initiative to greet Chen Qingyun and the other two. Three families of cultivators usually don't interfere with each other and rarely move around. Today, you can come together. Tell us why you are here." The voice sounded, and it was still Chen Qingyun who spoke. Hunyuan couldn't help but think secretly in his heart when he realized that Chen Qingyun had no intention of revealing his origins, but had some understanding of the relationship between his three families. These two people are so mysterious. They don't admit that they are foreign cultivators, nor do they say that they live on this Huangsha Island, although their specific origins cannot be discovered for a while. But, knowing that my Shui family, Wu family, and Lin family don't have much communication on weekdays and seek development on their own, they must have noticed us and know something about our details. The appearance of such a person is not sure whether it is good or bad for us. Fortunately, since they didn't show hostility, they didn't mean to take action, which is also a good thing. At the same time, Wu Dihai and Lin Yuandao were also thoughtful, and saw that Chen Qingyun didn't mean to reveal his origins. Although they wanted to ask more questions, they knew what they shouldn't say. At this time, they didn't want to ask out of curiosity. They secretly sent a message to Hunyuan, asking how to negotiate next. Should they specify their purpose? When discussing cooperation with high-level cultivators, what advantages can they bring to impress them? Just talking is not enough, they have to show some actual benefits. Hunyuan didn't like to beat around the bush, so he sent a message to the two of them directly, saying, "Since they asked about our purpose, we don't have to beat around the bush, just speak frankly." "Well, that makes sense. Then do as you say." "Okay." Wu, Dihai and Lin Yuandao responded one after another. The three of them underestimated the power of the giant and cultivator. At this time, how could this action of secretly sending a message, what was said, be hidden from Chen Qingyun and Liu Zilin? Chen Qingyun heard the message clearly, and calmly did not point it out, waiting for Shui Nuiyan to speak. After just one or two words, Shui Nuiyan stopped communicating through voice transmission, showing a deep smile, looking at Chen Qingyun and slowly saying, "Senior, you speak quickly. If I still hide it, it will ruin the atmosphere." Speaking of this, Shui Nuiyan showed a serious look and said directly to the point. "To be honest, the three of us came here today to visit the two seniors, and the second reason is to ask about the teleportation array." After these words came out, Shui Nuiyan and the other two showed a solemn look, and they were quite nervous. They carefully paid attention to the expressions on the faces of Chen Qingyun and Liu Zilin. Although before coming here, they had imagined various results for mentioning the teleportation array, and they might be silenced to eliminate future troubles. Maybe they would not admit the existence of the teleportation array and choose to hide it. Or they might be frank and admit it openly. All three results were considered. But now they are really afraid that if they come directly for the teleportation array, they will anger the other party and really be killed. After all, they knew very well how much a teleportation array was worth. This was a strategic resource, a treasure that even nascent soul cultivators would be tempted by. Hold on, they let us in and didn't show any killing intent. They might not have any killing intent, otherwise they wouldn't have wasted their time talking to us here. Shui Nuiyan comforted himself in his heart. He felt that Chen Qingyun and the others had not restrained their auras, which far exceeded the purple mansion stage. He felt cold sweat on his forehead. Wu Dihai and Lin Yuandao were the same. They tried to sit upright and hide their nervousness. Facing giant and cultivators here, they felt more fearful than facing giant and monsters. But for the sake of the teleportation array, for the future generations to have a chance to leave Huangsha Island, they had to bite the bullet. Chen Qingyun had expected this when he heard Shui Nuiyan mention the teleportation array. According to the fact that the Shui family first set foot on Huangsha Island and passed on the history of more than 400 years here. It was obviously impossible for them not to discover this cave and see the teleportation array here. At this moment, the other party's initiative to come here already shows that the other party knows the existence of this cave. There is no doubt about this. How much do you know about this teleportation array? Chen Qingyun asked. Taking this opportunity, I want to find out what this teleportation array was like before and what is the difference between it and now. More importantly, see if I can find out whether there are other cultivators who have used this teleportation array before them. In other words, have the cultivators on this island seen the ancestor of Tengai, and what is the connection between them? He hadn't asked what he wanted to know yet, but Chen Qingyun took the initiative. Shui Nuiyan smiled bitterly in his heart, but didn't dare to change the subject. He could only respond obediently. To be honest with you, we discovered this cave and had contact with this teleportation array more than 240 years ago. Shui Nuiyan told the details truthfully. There was nothing to hide, and there were no secrets. From the discovery of this cave to the contact with the teleportation array, it was a pity because of the lack of the teleportation order. In the end, this could only be sealed up, so that it was almost forgotten. Shui Nuiyan told everything clearly without any omissions. After learning the reason, Chen Qingyun pondered in his heart, and doubts began to arise in his heart. The monks of Huangsha Island who lived here did not know the origin of this cave. When they first entered this cave more than 240 years ago, no traces of monks were found here. So what did the ancestor of Tengai, or the monk who built this cave and this teleportation array, experience in those days? Why was there a teleportation array left behind, but no other resources, treasures, or even legends? Logically speaking, since this cave was discovered more than 200 years ago, there were already Shui family monks active on Huangsha Island at that time. So for long-term considerations, the builders should first do only two things. Chapter 773. Two purposes. First, in order to ensure that the teleportation array is not leaked, The builders will clean up the monks on the island to ensure that the secret can be hidden. Second, they will subdue the monks on Huangsha Island and use these people as a basis to control this spiritual island, thereby controlling the teleportation array and laying a solid foundation. The fact is that the builders did not do so, allowing the monks on Huangsha Island to pass it down. Then the reason for this made Chen Qingyun think deeply, and even began to doubt whether the Shui family monks would conceal something and deliberately fabricate history. Whether they obtained some inheritance opportunities from the builders was not said at this time. When they were first teleported to this cave, there were no treasures in this cave except the teleportation array. It is hard not to doubt whether the treasures here were divided up by the monks on the island, and only the teleportation array could not be taken away and activated, so it was preserved. When Shui Hunyuan finished speaking, Chen Qingyun pretended to raise his eyebrows, not very satisfied with this answer. What Shui Hunyuan said, Chen Qingyun would not believe it casually. Liu Zilin understood Chen Qingyun's thoughts very well. Seeing Chen Qingyun's expression, she immediately spoke with an unhappy look. My brother has the intention to take care of you, but if you are not sincere enough, then your inheritance on Huangsha Island will ultimately depend on you. Hearing Liu Zilin's words, Wu Dihai and the other two looked moved, and looked at each other with surprise. As the leader, Shui Hunyuan quickly stood up and shook his head repeatedly, saying, I dare not, I dare not, every word of my junior's words is true. If there is any falsehood, my Shui Hunyuan's future path will inevitably be blocked, and I will never hope to achieve the golden elixir road in my life. Senior, what we said is true, please judge for yourself. I dare not say any falsehood, it is absolutely true. If you don't believe it, you can catch a few cultivators on the island to ask for the truth. Wu Dihai and Lin Yuandao also stood up and responded. The three of them have tacitly agreed that Chen Qingyun and Liu Zilin are the masters of this cave. The reason why he asked this question now must be to ask whether these intruders did not cause any damage in the cave after leaving the cave that year. After all, this is no different from trespassing. Who doesn't have a face? It's normal to ask. Chen Qingyun paid close attention to the responses of Shui Hunyuan and the other two, and did not notice any unusual micro-expression fluctuations, so he narrowed his eyes calmly and did not speak. Liu Zilin eased the atmosphere and said, we like quietness and don't like to be disturbed on weekdays. From now on, you must keep secrets about everything here, and every plant and tree you see. Don't leak it to the outside world and disturb the quiet here. The meaning of this sentence is very clear. Shui Hunyuan and the other two nodded repeatedly, indicating that from now on, the descendants of the family will not be allowed to set foot in it at will. A restricted area within a radius of 100 miles is also set up to ensure the tranquility here. Chen Qingyun and the others have already found out more information about the cave. Now they can't ask anything, so they won't dig deeper. Chen Qingyun took the initiative to ask a question, saying, I see that your cultivation is still shallow. This time you come for the teleportation array. Do you know what the world outside the boundary sea is like? Shui Hunyuan and the other two looked at each other, and their faces showed longing and strong doubts. Shui Hunyuan said, I have been practicing for 296 years. I haven't left the boundary sea yet, but I have heard some rumors about the world outside the boundary sea. Is Shui Hunyuan talking about the world on the other side of the mainland? Chen Qingyun said, oh, tell me about it. Shui Hunyuan organized his words and slowly told the story. What he mentioned was not the world on the other side of the mainland, but the Lei Ling Sea adjacent to the boundary sea. There are also very unique natural disasters in the Lei Ling Sea, called thunderstorm clouds, which will release rolling thunder to cover an area of the sea and can easily smash large ships. But compared with the boundary sea, the natural disasters in the Lei Ling Sea are not too fatal. Treasures prepared in advance to resist thunder can easily survive. Chen Qingyun and the others had long known about the Thunder Spirit Sea. It was a sea area where demon cultivators were almost extinct. The power structure was dominated by the immortal cultivation families, with the family as the supreme power. The regional power established there was ruled by the family. Compared with the Star Sea, The Star Sect ruled the entire Star Sea, and the major families followed their lead. As an immortal cultivation family, Shui Yuan was envious of the prosperous families in the Thunder Spirit Sea, and his face was full of longing. After Shui Yuan finished speaking, Chen Qingyun just nodded, thinking that he had not been to the Thunder Spirit Sea and could not comment on it. The world outside the Boundary Sea is indeed vast and prosperous, and each has its own characteristics. What kind of scene is this? You will know it when you go and see it with your own eyes in the future. Although, he guessed that the other party came here for the purpose of using the teleportation array, Chen Qingyun still asked. Tell me, what else do you want this time? You didn't come here just to ask about the teleportation array, did you? He had a purpose long ago, and after a few polite words, Shui Yuan smiled embarrassedly when asked about his intention. Senior, you have sharp eyes, how can I hide my little tricks from you? In fact, we came here not only to ask about the teleportation array, but also to have the opportunity to use it one day in the future. In addition, Huangsha Island is located in the Boundary Sea and is often hit by natural disasters in the surrounding area, endangering the family's descendants. This has always made the younger generation worried and unable to sleep at night. The younger generation dares to ask if the two seniors are willing to help and protect us. We will be grateful and remember the kindness of the two seniors. As soon as Shui Yuan said this, Wu Dihai and Lin Yuandao became more nervous and paid close attention to the expressions of Chen Qingyun and the others. This was their first visit, and they came with a strong purpose, wanting to use the teleportation array and seeking shelter. If the other party had a bad temper, he would probably directly order them to leave. He would not even piss himself to look at himself when asked why. The atmosphere fell into silence at this moment. Chen Qingyun pondered and did not speak. He glanced at Shui Yuan and the other two, making them even more nervous. In order to stay calm, Shui Yuan did not forget to squeeze out a smile and responded to Chen Qingyun's gaze. Just when Shui Yuan felt that the atmosphere was a little depressing, Chen Qingyun slowly spoke. You want to have the opportunity to use the teleportation array, and you want me to protect you. There is no free lunch in this world. What sincerity can you show? What benefits can you bring to us? When it comes to interests, Chen Qingyun is not polite at all. Chapter 774, Division of Interests. If there is not a teleportation array here, which can greatly shorten the distance to the mainland, it can be reached instantly from the Star Sea. If not, Chen Qingyun is unwilling to pay attention to these Huangsha Island monks. This teleportation array is particularly important, but it is a pity that it cannot be moved at will like the Tangai Cave Mansion. Otherwise, it would be very good to control it in one's own hand. At present, in order to obtain this teleportation array, it is necessary to properly protect this spiritual island and give some support to the monks here. Everyone is the head of a clan. This time they came to visit with a purpose, and naturally considered all aspects, and there was no lack of discussion on interests. Senior, it is also shameful to say that the foundation of my family is weak, and I am afraid that there is no treasure that can enter the eyes of the senior. Considering the foundation of his own family, perhaps it may not be valued by the Jiandan monks. Shui Yuan can only move out the topaz vein and say sincerely. But, fortunately, we currently have a large mine in our hands. This mine is called the Topaz Mine, which can produce up to level 3 topaz. This topaz is strong and durable, and can be used to refine level 1 to level 3 magic tools, and has a wide range of uses. If you are interested, we can divide some benefits from this topaz mine and give it to you. What do you think? Shui Yuan had discussed this decision with Wu Dihai and Lin Yuandao a long time ago. And this is one of the bargaining chips. Although this topaz mine is good, it can be mined for about 400 years. But due to the local conditions, it is located in Huangsha Island, and because of the strength of the Shui, Wu, and Lin families, they do not have the ability to trade overseas. The topaz in their hands naturally cannot be sold to the outside world to earn spirit stones. This is like guarding a gold mine. The gold in your hands cannot be sold, and you can only keep it in your hands to eat dust. When the gold accumulated in your hands becomes more and more, it will become less and less valuable when it is saturated. The topaz vein is on Huangsha Island, and this is the current situation. Located in the north of the Topaz Mountain Range, it is far from the clan lands of the three major families. The ore mined here is already very large, filling the warehouses of the major families. More ore cannot be sold, and it is impossible to maximize the profit. If it were not for the purpose of maintaining the balance on the island, the three families would cooperate in mining and share the profits equally, so that the vein would not fall into the hands of one or the other two families. Otherwise, they would not have spent manpower and material resources to send people to mine. Since the topaz stones in their hands are already saturated, they would give up some of the benefits of the vein in exchange for the protection of the giant and cultivator. Or in exchange, they can use the teleportation array, so it is all worth it. Seeing that the other party took out the topaz vein, Chen Qingyun was somewhat interested in it. But this alone is naturally not enough. After all, if they want the vein, they can just grab it. Facing the giant and cultivator, the cultivators on this island dare not fight to the death, so they can only give up this benefit. Of course, Chen Qingyun didn't want to do this kind of robbing. Chen Qingyun didn't agree, nor did he speak, wanting to see what kind of bargaining chips the other party could add to impress him. Liu Zilin saw Chen Qingyun's thoughts and decided to add fuel to the fire. She shook her head with dissatisfaction. The topaz vein you mentioned is located in the north of the Topaz Mountains, which is too far away from here. From here as the starting point, it takes too much time to mine and transport back and forth. And it's just some second and third level ores. Although there are some things to be praised, they are still of no value to us. This made Hunyuan scratch his head with a bitter smile, and he seemed very embarrassed for a while, and he didn't know how to respond. Here, Hunyuan had no dignity as the head of the family, and lowered his posture to try his best to negotiate, hoping to gain some benefits. Wu Dihai was stunned when he heard this, and was speechless, realizing that the topaz vein was indeed as Liu Zilin said. The distance is indeed far. Unless a spiritual vein mining point is established around it, more monks are sent to assist in mining, and then a teleportation array or a trade port is built. If we really want to use this place as the starting point, transport the ore here, and then sell it elsewhere through the teleportation array, this 1.1 million miles journey will really take too much time. At present, this topaz vein can't impress the other party, so what else can we show? Wu Dihai couldn't help but mutter in his heart, the vision of giant and monks is really different. It's really hard to impress them with third level ore. Lin Yuandao also looked like he was scratching his head, feeling a little difficult. The atmosphere was silent for a while, and Hunyuan took the lead and smiled at Liu Zilin, and then looked at Chen Qingyun for his intention. Senior, can you let the juniors discuss a few words? Maybe we can still come up with treasures that will satisfy the seniors. Chen Qingyun nodded. The three of them kept thinking and secretly transmitted their voices again. Wu Dihai said, by the way, do we have any valuable treasures? This is a good opportunity. They didn't explicitly refuse, which means there is still room for negotiation. Lin Yuandao said, although the topaz vein is good, it is not enough to impress them. What else do we have? Could it be that we have to give away a few inherited magic tools and talismans in exchange? Speaking of this, Lin Yuandao did not forget to give an example. Oh, I remember it. Chief Wu, your family's third-grade Filuan furnace is also a treasure in my opinion. Let's not hide it now. Your family doesn't have an alchemist, and you can't make pills with it. Why don't you take it out? Not appropriate. Not appropriate. When Wu Dihai heard that he had to take out the family treasure, he shook his head repeatedly. Even if my Wu family doesn't have an alchemist now, it doesn't mean there won't be one in the future. As for the alchemy furnace, my Wu family only has this Filuan furnace, which is very precious. This is related to the heritage of our descendants. How can this furnace be given away just because someone says so? I don't think it's appropriate. Besides, they may not look down on the third-level magic weapon. They are serious giant and cultivators, and they probably have countless third-level magic weapons in their hands. HMPH, how can you impress them without spending some money? If you don't want to give it up, what else can you negotiate with? Lin Yuandao pretended to be angry and replied, thinking that the Wu family was a little petty. It's not a bad idea to contribute this thing that you don't need now in exchange for greater benefits. Why are you still guarding this Hunyuan furnace like a treasure? You are generous, so how about this? The third grade top grade C splitting waves talisman of your Lin family is also good. If you are willing to take it out and give it to them generously, I will be willing to give away this Hunyuan furnace. Wu Dihai was sure that Lin Yuandao was reluctant to give it, and he responded bluntly. Chapter 775, Surprise. Wu Dihai's retort had an immediate effect, and it really made Lin Yuandao shut up. He hummed and stopped talking. At this critical moment, seeing the two of them bickering for a few words, Shui Nuian couldn't help but complain in his heart. What a joke. He sighed, but could only take the initiative to smooth things over and ease the atmosphere. Okay, you don't have to say much, just say less. The fact is, just as Chief Lin said, with our meager background, how could they look down on us? How about this? Do you still remember the Sea Heart Crystal Vein? When Wu Dihai and the others mentioned this newly discovered vein, their eyes lit up, but soon frowned again. Wu Dihai said, the Sea Heart Crystal Vein is not on the island, and it needs to be mined at sea. They may not be interested in it. Yes, the Sea Heart Crystal Vein has been discovered for 21 years. During this period, we have not been able to mine it. At most, we mined a few pieces when we first discovered it. Then, we were lucky 3 years ago. The three of us joined forces and mined a few more pieces by luck. Lin Yuandao said, this vein is not easy to mine. You two are not this, and you are not that. Do you still want to win over these two seniors? Shui Nuian still wanted to take this opportunity to hold his thighs tightly, and said in a very serious tone, just because we don't have the ability to mine doesn't mean that these two seniors can't do it. If they have the ability to mine, it would be good if we can get a share. What do you think of this matter? When Wu Dihai and the others heard it, they both pondered secretly. Finally, Shui Nuian said, we can't mine the Sea Heart Crystal Vein, so it's not impossible to do a favor and win over the two seniors. Okay, that's it. Yeah. The three of them exchanged a few words quickly and reached a consensus. Chen Qingyun saw the sound transmission and heard the content of the exchange. Whether it is the Hunyuan Molten Fire Furnace or the Dividing Sea Breaking Wave Talisman, these third-level resources are indeed not worthy of the Golden Core Cultivator. As for the Sea Heart Crystal Vein, Chen Qingyun became interested when he learned that the three major families still had such a vein. Earlier, he was still planning to make a trident and equip it to the puppet, thinking about where to get a large amount of Sea Heart Crystal. Now, after searching for it everywhere, it was obtained without any effort, which is an unexpected surprise. However, according to what Shui Nuian and the other two said, they have no ability to mine a Sea Heart Crystal Vein, which means that the vein is located in the boundary sea. Or are there large monsters entrenched around it? After the secret discussion, Shui Nuian looked at Chen Qingyun with a sincere look. Senior, you have been waiting for a long time. This is just the division of the benefits of a topaz mine. Naturally, it cannot impress you. We also know that we have taken advantage of it. In addition to the topaz mine, we also control a 4th-level Sea Heart Crystal Vein. If you don't mind, we can give you all the Sea Heart Crystal Veins. A 4th-level Sea Heart Crystal is worth about 5,000 Spirit Stones, and there is no place in the Star Sea where it can be mined. So in terms of price, there will be a premium due to scarcity. This world sea is really rich in resources. By exploring the Yellow Sand Island, 2 veins can be found. This Sea Heart Crystal Vein is estimated to be medium-sized and can be mined for about 200 years. As long as it is mined, the benefits can be obtained. It is absolutely considerable. Lin Yuandao added. Liu Zilin also heard the previous voice transmission of the 3 people and sent a voice transmission to Chen Qingyun. From what they just said, This sea heart crystal vein is difficult to mine, and it is probably in the depths of a certain sea area in the Boundary Sea. Indeed. Chen Qingyun nodded secretly. From what they said, they don't mean to mine the sea heart crystal vein with our strength and divide it afterwards. If we can monopolize this vein, it is worth protecting them. Well, if we have to be active here for a long time in the future, and the teleportation array here cannot be moved, we have to control the monks here and let them use them for us. When we are not here, we still need them to guard the teleportation array here. The two talked for a few words and decided to exclude the idea of cleaning up the monks on the island and killing them to silence them, and chose to take them under their command. Tell me, where's this sea heart crystal vein specifically? With this idea, Chen Qingyun glanced at Hunyuan and the other two, and asked directly, showing some interest. Chen Qingyun's reaction made Hunyuan, the old man, look moved, and he responded immediately. Senior, this vein is located in the southern part of Huangsha Island, and is estimated to be about 9,000 miles away. It is precisely because it is located in the Boundary Sea and in the seabed mountains that our abilities are limited and we can only sigh in despair. If you are willing to help, you will definitely be able to mine this vein easily. I am willing to contribute all the resources obtained from the mining to you. Wu Dihai and Lin Yuandao were thoughtful and agreed quickly. This sea heart crystal vein will be under the control of you in the future. If you need it, we can also assist in mining and do our part. Yes, I hope you don't mind and can protect us. Chen Qingyun did not rush to agree to the partial benefits of the topaz vein, plus a 4th-level sea heart crystal vein. The division of the former's interests still needs to be discussed in detail, and how much share he can occupy. For the latter, one also needs to go to the site for an on-site inspection in person, and not just believe what he hears. The content of the subsequent conversation was very simple, and Hunyuan took the initiative to strike while the iron was hot. For the topaz mine, we can keep 10% of the profits for each of the 3 companies, and the remaining 70% can belong to the senior. The senior does not need to send people to mine, just hand it over to us, and you can sit back and receive 70% of the share. With 70% of the share, Chen Qingyun was quite satisfied and nodded slowly. When he went to the Hexen crystal mine, Wu Dihai said that he could take him to see it now. After a short first contact, the two sides reached a cooperation, and no contract agreement was signed for the time being. Outside the cave, Wu Dihai sacrificed a medium-sized flying boat, Liu Guang boat, and invited everyone to board it. They set off to go to the Hexen crystal mine to take a look. Chen Qingyun and Liu Zilin secretly paid attention, boarded the flying boat with caution, and followed it all the way south, flying towards the Boundary Sea. Along the way, Hunyuan and the other two were respectful and took the initiative to chat with each other, asking Chen Qingyun and Liu Zilin how to address them, calling them seniors. When the flying boat flew away from Huangsha Island and entered the Boundary Sea, Hunyuan and the other two began to show solemn expressions, and unconsciously moved closer to Chen Qingyun to seek shelter. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.